You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged.
Enjoy.
So the telephone number is 0844 499 1000. I'm afraid we don't continue until you telephone in. It's me, James Max, in for the Two Mics, who couldn't be bothered to turn up on time. It's a disgrace. 4 minutes past 7 o'clock. You've got to do it now, I'm afraid. No, otherwise, we're just going to be playing this until the end. I know. Could be getting a bit boring, isn't it? Oh, it's like going down your local supermarket. Dare the Parry. Stir the Max. 0844 499 1000 is the number. Come along. Yes, you. Pick up your phone and tell me what I should say to the Two Mics when they turn up late. 0844 499 1000. Yeah, no, that means now. It doesn't mean later. 0844. I'm going to read this number until you bother to pick up your phone. I know that you're listening now thinking, oh, I'd quite like to pull a fast one on the Two Mics. Yes, please. Come along. 0844 499 1000. Alan is on the line in Birmingham. Hi, Alan.
Good evening, James.
Oh, hi, Alan. It's an absolute pleasure. It's okay, thank you. Is it okay for me to break the rules?
Yes, it is. It's your show. You can do whatever you like.
Is that my permission to do whatever I like?
Just don't go too mad, because that's Ian Lee's department.
Listen, I stole every madness that I ever had off Ian Lee.
Oh, yeah.
I know. It's so everything I do isn't.
His catchphrase yet?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I mean everything I do isn't original at all.
Well, you didn't do his catchphrase yet.
Have I done what?
You haven't had his catchphrase.
Oh, his catchphrase or my catchphrase?
Yep.
Oh, no. I'm not going to nick his catchphrase. I've got my own. Hang on a second. Can we stick Irene on as well? Hang on a second. Alan, would you like to speak to Irene?
Hello, Irene.
Hello, Alan. Are you in Birmingham?
Yes, I am. Where are you?
I'm in London in a place called Hampstead at the moment.
Hampstead? I've heard of that.
Have you?
Is that South London?
No, it's northwest London.
Oh, North London.
It's near the M1.
Near the M1? Well, I'm near the M5.
Oh, right. But I used to come to Birmingham on the M1. Do you come off now and go on the M5?
Well, you put the M1, you've got to go onto the M6 to about Junction 9 or Junction 8, which is the link with the M5, then down the M5 to Junction 3.
Oh,
what
right.
a fascinating conversation the pair of you having. Oh, my God. I'm going to have to
forget he's there, Alan.
Oh, dear.
And
Alan?
you and I can talk.
Alan?
Yes, James.
Yeah, Alan.
Yes.
You know when Ian Lee's having a disaster and he's bored and you call in and stuff, how do you rescue his show?
By talking random.
By talking what?
Like I am now.
Oh, because according to a piece earlier in my show, people from Birmingham are the funniest in the country. Is that really true?
Well, you haven't heard me sing on a karaoke.
Were you born in Birmingham, Alan? You don't have a Birmingham accent.
Well, my dad's family's from the North East, and my mum's family's from the Isle of Wight. Well, I was born and raised in Birmingham.
Oh, dear. I've just had a text or a tweet or something that's just come through saying, to the Two Mics, please turn up soon and get this off the radio. I can't help it. It's not my fault.
Oh, really?
I know. It's an absolute disgrace.
Why doesn't this person
I bet you've been listening now and that laughing.
Yeah, somebody else has said...
Luke
Skywalker has said that the show is in chaos without the Two Mics. Well, it's not surprising. I'm not supposed to be on. I've finished my show, and they couldn't be bothered to turn up. Alan?
Yes, James?
How much of the Two Mics fee should I ask for?
10%.
What? Is that
10%.
all?
10%.
10%? Is that all?
How long are they usually on for?
Well, 3 hours.
How long we're not here for.
Well,
if we're not here by 8:30, then I'll for 50%.
8:30? I'll have the whole lot, thanks.
That's if we're not here by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Are they serious as you, James?
I don't know. No. Are they as serious as me? No, I don't think they're serious at all.
Oh, right.
Where's Johnny and Ash?
Well, they're on holiday this week.
Well, I wanted to let me know.
Why's that?
Because I normally check the talkRADIO app for the schedule, see who's on.
Yes.
And when I saw the two mics, I thought, I've never spoken to them before. I'll give them a ring, see what I get. But now I'm having to talk about The Apprentice with someone who's actually faced Lord Sugar's wrath.
Oh, yeah, what did you want to ask, Alan?
Or what's Lord Sugar really like?
Oh, he's quite a nice bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a good man. He's a nice chap. So he was very friendly. I mean, he's slightly
Have you
short.
ever come across him, James?
Well, I've met him, yes,
Oh, right.
and well, obviously I did because I was in that program with him.
Did you know that, Alan?
He was on the, yeah.
Did you know that James was on
Yeah, he was on The Apprentice.
James was, yes.
Hang on, what the heck is this? This text has just said, does it all go crackers after 7 o'clock? This one says, I live in Northumberland and you need to go on the A1 to get there. Forget your fancy M1 and your la-di-da M5. It's just Harry in Northumberland. Who cares? It's up north. Who cares? No one cares.
Oh, you're very London.
You'll go on the M1 to get to the A1.
I'm struggling to even understand half of what you're saying, Alan, because you're from Birmingham. Anybody else who calls in from further north, I won't understand. You could say what you like. Got no idea what you'd be talking about.
Don't take any notice of
Go
him,
up the
Alan.
M1 and up the M6 to go up
God, what
to
have
the
you started?
A1.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes?
yeah.
Do we
I
care?
was going to say. Why,
Well, in case you want to go to the
Oh,
ballroom.
Iron Line. Can I just send out a particular message? Iron Line, if you're listening, if you'd like to get the two people that you've been very disparaging off the radio, then all you have to do is you dial 0844 499 1000, and also any of the rest of you who are listening who would like to give me advice on what I should say to the two mics when they do bother to turn up, you are most welcome. 0844 499 1000 is my number.
I think we're having quite a nice conversation, actually.
Oh, no, this one has said, don't ask Alan to rescue your show. Not even Superman could save it. Push off back to the BBC.
Oh, dear.
How
You've
it's
been
not
breaking
my...
up the kryptonite again.
It's not my fault that the two mics couldn't be bothered to turn up.
Do they have microphones, these two mics?
I don't know. Well, they were... They haven't got any mics.
Good one.
Oh, that's very good, Irene. You're on form today. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, dear, oh, dear. So,
Hip, hip.
Have they phoned it? Why don't they phone in the station?
well, I don't know. We might try and speak to them and see what happens.
Absolutely. If they're in the car, why don't they just phone into the programme and explain to us all where they are?
Well, they could do. I wonder where they are at the moment.
Well, they're probably stuck in a traffic jam somewhere.
Probably in Carlisle.
Oh, Terry has sent, I expect, what's this one? He says, I expect Mike Parry will make sure the Max is furnished with a bottle of Moet for the inconvenience. Bloomin' hope so.
Oh, good for him.
Oh, champagne o'clock, anyone?
I don't like champagne. That's my only problem.
Oh, don't you?
I've had a bottle of Prosecco once.
You had a bottle of what?
I had a whole
Prosecco.
bottle of Prosecco once.
Oh, did you? What happened?
I was very drunk.
What? Did you drink the whole bottle?
Yep.
Oh, well, that was the
Well, I'll
first
have
error.
a Bellini with peach juice. I don't mind that.
Right.
Do you think you could
Listen
organise
to
that?
listen to the pair of you. You're a bunch of lushes, you lot.
Yes, we are. You included.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Right.
It was only because I went to the races.
Thanks.
Oh, did you have a nice time at the races, Alan?
Yeah, I went to Aintree for the Grand National.
Oh, how exciting. Did you enjoy
The
it?
whole 3 days. Yeah, I had 6 winners
Really? Well
over
done.
the 3 days.
Right. Irene, you know that you're producing the show?
I don't know how to produce the show.
Well, to be honest, nobody else does here, so I wouldn't bother about it. We're all
How
making
do
it up
you
as we
do
get on.
that? Literally.
Alan,
Yeah.
I'm very
Yes,
appreciative of you calling, and it's a delight to speak to you. I've listened to you many times with Lord Lee, and I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you.
Are we calling again tonight?
You'll be calling, yes, excellent, good. Well, then I'll be listening. Now, Tony wants to get rid of you, Alan. So, is it all right if I get rid of you and we'll have Tony instead?
Have fun, Tony.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye. Yeah. Irene.
Yeah.
What does everybody love?
Cats.
Oh, cats! Everybody loves cats. They also love Tony in London. Hi, Tony.
Utter rubbish.
Excellent.
Utter rubbish. You've got a toff, you've got a brummy, and a drunk woman spouting utter rubbish. I remember when Talk Radio first started 20 years ago, and you had the likes of Charlie Wolf, Mike Mendoza, and The Whale, class acts that will get class calls. This is utter, I'm going to say it, rubbish.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
Rubbish.
Yeah, but you know what's happened? Yeah, Tony?
Yes.
Tony, you know what's happened, though?
What has happened is that they've given the show to a toff, and he's got a drunk woman on the radio spouting about.
And he's also got somebody who's quite rude who's telephoned in.
But, Tony, I'm not drunk.
Oh, well, you should be, love.
Well, listen, it's Bank Holiday Monday.
Yes.
And we're having a jolly conversation.
Tony.
You said you like cats. It's not the internet, love. We're not looking at the internet. This is Talk Radio.
Okay, Tony.
Exactly, I'm talking.
She's talking. Tony, what would you like to talk about then?
I'd like to talk about dogs.
Dogs?
Yes, dogs.
Go on, then.
What do you want to say about dogs?
I think dogs are excellent.
So do I.
don't have time for dogs. I like dogs. But the thing about dog owners, what was her name? Irene?
Yeah.
I'm a dog owner, Tony. Does that make me any better in your mind, or am I still a toff?
No, because I bet yours is a Ponzi Chihuahua poodle because you're a toff.
Oh, no.
The thing about dogs.
What sort of dog have you got, Tony?
I've got a Westie.
Oh, well, that's a posh dog.
You've got a Westie?
I've got a Westie.
Why have you got a Westie?
What do you mean, why have I got a Westie?
Well, that's
because
a posh dog, Tony.
I went to a dog breeder and I bought a Westie. That's why I've got a Westie. And my nana used to have a Westie, and it reminds me of her. And sometimes I think, when it's a full moon, I do sometimes wonder if my little girl, my Westie, is slightly possessed of my nana's spirit. Probably not, but that's what I like to think.
Tony, can I ask your advice, Tony?
You can ask my advice, certainly, of course.
Thank you very much indeed. Because it sounds like, you know what's going on. Now, Irene is producing the programme, and look!
Sorry about that.
Oh, my goodness, mate.
God, have they turned up?
They've finally bothered to turn up.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah. And do you know what? My colleague, John Holmes, was late after he got a badly timed train.
Yes.
Well, except his train wasn't late, though. We checked.
Yeah.
No, it's a badly timed train.
Generally
was late.
James,
thank you so much for doing this.
Well, that's all right. Have you seen the abuse that I've got?
I know.
From some of your listeners. What a disgrace.
Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely...
Class.
I'm sorry?
Proper class. You got Porky, Parry, and the other one whose name I forget. This is class, guys. This next 2 hours and 40 minutes is going to be awesome.
Tony? Tony, I think the word is class. Thank you for... there we go. Thank you, Tony. Goodbye. Irene, thank you for producing the programme whilst the gentleman weren't here.
I shall wait with an open mind to listen to the two people who were late.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry we weren't late. It was EasyJet who were late, not us.
Really?
Seriously.
Really?
Seriously, their plane was late. We just happened to be on it. But they didn't tell us. How about this,
James? Have you been in Edinburgh?
Yes, in Edinburgh. What about this for service?
It fantastic?
It was fantastic. Well, we were waiting there, and all the board says is there'd be a 15-minute delay. So they let everybody go through to the departure area because you were walking across the tarmac to get on.
Yes.
When they all got down there, of course, we are smarter than the average bears, and we didn't follow the crowd. Yeah. When they got down there, guess what they saw? No plane.
Oh.
The plane had been towed away, and they're bringing another plane in.
They're bringing another plane in.
Joking.
No.
But it was one of these things where you kept waiting. It didn't say, we'll take off in an hour. Yeah. It just didn't say anything.
Oh, they didn't say anything at all? No. And then you had to buy your own sandwiches when you were on the plane.
Well, luckily we brought some sandwiches before we got
exactly.
actually we're at the champagne
Now,
bar.
now the boss has suggested that I have a negotiation with you, and I've got Irene here to help me as to how much of your fee he should give to me from you.
No, none.
None?
None.
No. What about the honour of working with us in this handover?
And also, frankly, some of the reactions to what you've been getting for taking over from us has been so bad. In fact, we may have to fine you for damaging our very, very high figures.
Really?
You know, that's the problem.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's poor
you two sound really good news. I should continue listening to you.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed.
Right. Well, I'll send the bosses for doubling the listenership then.
Exactly.
There we go.
I will negotiate on your behalf with the bosses because you know how they are overburdened with wealth here at talkRADIO.
Indeed.
So,
yes, exactly.
We didn't bother trying to negotiate for any of John Holmes's fees. It was so small.
That's true.
Exactly.
No, I've heard
You've
that.
got to be
wasn't
paid
worth
better
having.
than the BBC.
Well, exactly.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but 25% of nothing is nothing. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
That's
Problem.
true.
Yeah, no,
That's what we
that is
negotiate
true.
on.
Okay, so Irene, thank you very much indeed for calling in and rescuing. Goodbye. Hopefully speak to you tomorrow. I shall be back tomorrow, hopefully for the normal show, which will be between 4 and 7 o'clock, which is Live at Drive, in which I shall be sitting in once again for Sam Delaney. And indeed, they are now here. So I dare say that after a little bit of a break... Is that right?
I presume there will be one.
We're ready to go.
There will be a break, though, won't there?
We'll have a bit of a break.
Yes, one,
I was just trying to be professional there.
No, that's okay. Don't
Don't
worry.
try and be fresh in front of Porky.
I'm like
There's
a coiled
no point.
spring. Don't worry about it. Coiled
Really?
springs never break.
Really?
No.
Oh.
Coiled springs do quite often break.
No,
They do
not
quite-
in my case.
Yeah. He hasn't had a lot of sleep over the weekend.
No, I've had quite a lot of sleep.
Have
We've been at the festival in Edinburgh. We had three shows, three
Yes.
sellout shows.
Yes.
It was a brilliant experience.
They didn't start
Yes.
till 11 o'clock at night, so we
right.
only got to bed before about 5.
And
That's
then,
right,
and by then, you'd empty every pub available.
Not really.
No, there were places
No.
were still going. I mean,
Yeah.
the trouble with drinking in Edinburgh
I know.
is that, you don't realise how late it is because it's so busy.
Exactly, and then
you
they
think-
stay open forever, don't they?
And there's still people coming in at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're thinking, well, surely it must be about 2 or something.
Yes.
And then suddenly you realise it's dawn's coming up.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that's going to be coming up on your programme that you want to let people know about?
Absolutely. We're going to speak to a world-renowned politicist who believes that Donald Trump might even be a Russian mole inside the American society.
Might
and
well
government.
That sounds marvellous.
Yeah, it does, absolutely right. We're going to review some programmes. Victoria was on last night.
Yes.
And it's on again tonight.
Yes.
Two-parter, about the young Queen Victoria.
Yes.
And Cold Feet is coming back. I have never seen an episode of Cold Feet, and I want to know what the excitement about is about
Me
Cold
too,
Feet.
yeah. And we've got a few stories. We've got a few stories from Scotland. To tell
Great
as well.
stories.
Yeah.
Great
He's
stories.
showing Porky
So
around
stories, bit of telly, bit of this, bit of that, and a bit of the other.
Yeah, absolutely. You bet. Yeah.
Award-winning stuff.
It is
Award-winning stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. So,
How was your show gone, by the way, James?
Yeah, it was quite good, I think,
Yes.
actually.
You've got a lot of people calling in and speaking to you, I notice. That means you're popular with one particular section of the audience. Which is good.
It's good to be popular with any section of the audience. This one says, late playing my backside. Tell the truth, EasyJet wouldn't let you board until you'd sobered up, it says here.
Well, I mean, I wish that were the case.
Yeah, I wish
but
that were true.
unfortunately
Well,
it's
if we'd known it was going to be that late, we would have had more to drink because we would have been sober by the time we got here.
Yeah, it's true.
But we kind of knocked it on the head after a few glasses of Buck's Fizz.
Yeah, we did.
Thinking
actually.
that, we'll have to go soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
Shocking planning, really.
It is.
I nearly got killed by a bus, by the way. In which street was it in?
That show hasn't started yet. James wants to go home. Let him go.
No.
Stop talking to
Oh,
him.
no, don't you worry. You just carry on there.
Yeah.
What
So there isn't a
happened?
break then?
Well, I thought you could walk
No,
on...
there is a break.
Oh, there is a break.
Yeah, we'll do the break.
I thought you could walk in the road. So I
Yes.
stepped off the pavement, walked in the road. and
No,
bus went-
the problem is,
What?
he was discombobulated from the night before, right?
No,
we
it
went up.
wasn't.
We were shooting a video as well. So in addition to putting out some of the live stuff, we decided to walk around the Royal Mile and
Yes.
shoot some videos. So we had
right.
this video crew following us around. Because the Royal Mile is pedestrianised,
Yes.
this guy thinks that every part of Edinburgh is pedestrianised.
That's right.
And he starts walking down the inside of a bus lane
Yeah.
Yes.
across North Bridge, which is quite a busy bridge. You
Yes.
might know it, where the Scots
I do.
building used to be. And suddenly I hear this horn,
Yeah.
and this bus was careering towards him at about 35 miles an hour.
Oh, it was a ridiculous speed.
And I actually
Ridiculous
pulled him out
Yes.
of the way of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually saved his life.
Excellent. Well, that's amazing.
I could have been smashed to pieces.
Well, I'm glad you weren't.
Thank you.
That would have been a better excuse for being late, but
It
never
would have
mind.
been.
Anyway, thank you very much indeed for calls, texts, emails, for bailing me out. The two mics are here next here on talkRADIO. I'm back tomorrow for Live at Drive as I sit once again for Sam Delaney. They'll be up next.
You're listening to the two mics on TalkSport.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged.
Enjoy.
Good evening. We are the two mics, slightly later than advertised. We're not quite live from Edinburgh anymore. We were live in Edinburgh for the last 3 nights. We did 3 live shows. It all went terribly well. Yep. We'll be telling you a lot about that coming up in the show. Also, we'll be talking to Kevin O'Sullivan, one of the great TV critics of our modern age. Indeed. He's going to tell us what he makes of Cold Feet coming back and of Victoria as well. We'll have a Metro paper review and we'll be chatting with Edward Lucas, senior editor at The Economist, about Donald Trump and his connections with Russia. Indeed. You're listening at this rather different time of the night to the two mics. Me, Mike Graham, he, Mike Parry. Now,
right, there we go. Now how much?
Welcome.
Welcome to you as well,
I
Mike.
don't feel really I need to say welcome to you because I've spent the entire weekend with you.
You have indeed.
The last time we were in this studio was Friday.
Yes.
We finished doing the show from 10 till 1.
Yeah.
And we went straight to the airport.
Yep.
First thing that happened, of course, was we got to London Bridge Station to find the train we wanted to get was
cancelled.
Which we thought might be a bad omen.
Bad omen, but it wasn't.
But it wasn't really.
We got there in time.
Yeah.
We managed to have a sherbet or two. We got on the plane to
Edinburgh.
Yeah. And we want to say a big thank you to our friend Donald for hosting.
Donald McLeod.
CPL,
yeah.
the man who owns the garage in Sauchiehall Street.
Garage.
Yeah, the garage in Sauchiehall Street. And he put on a sumptuous welcome dinner for us.
We
then went off to
a fantastic restaurant.
Assembly Rooms and conquered Edinburgh night 1 and then conquered night 2 and 3.
Yeah, what about the rainbow? You've forgotten about the rainbow.
The rainbow?
Which I thought was a wonderful omen as well. Have you forgotten about the rainbow?
No, that was fantastic.
While we were in having dinner,
yes.
Obviously I had to pop out for a cigarette, as I tend to do, and we went outside, and it was sort of around about 8 o'clock at night, so it wasn't quite dusk. So
yes.
It was bright enough, obviously, for there to be a rainbow. And I hadn't seen any rain, which was kind of weird. Because
that's right, That's usually when rainbows come.
Normally, there has to be rain in order for there to be a rainbow.
Yeah, because a rainbow is formed by the precipitation hanging on the...
Well, no, it's caused by the refraction of the light.
Refraction of the light,
through,
that's right.
A prism-like raindrop.
Yes, that's right, absolutely.
Yeah, and the curvature of the Earth makes it curved.
And it was a double rainbow as well, by the way.
Well, it was a very bright single rainbow.
Well, no, I think it was a double rainbow.
Well, we sent the picture out, so
we
people could see that it wasn't a double rainbow.
Absolutely.
You always have to over-egg the pudding, don't you?
No, I don't know.
You have to make it a double rainbow.
I'll tell you what was interesting as well. We sort of blindly went into booking accommodation up there, through a letting agency.
Well, we didn't blindly do it.
Well,
I actually did it for you.
Well, no, we did it. And when I got there, I had this delightful little cottage in a place just off Leith Walk.
Leith Walk, that's right.
Which was marvellous. For 3 days it's my home, and I have to say it was so well appointed and all that. So,
and you have to say, when you're staying somewhere for that length of time, 3 nights, it's nice not to be in a hotel, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, I totally agree. And a very good place to stay. Pizza bar across the road, Sainsbury's local or whatever you call them, round the corner. Yeah. A Tesco Express, Co-op. It was all there.
Pubs, and reasonable number of pubs.
Reasonable number of pubs. So we didn't do a lot of drinking.
What?
Before the show.
What?
Before the shows. No, we didn't. No, well,
not before the show, no. But I mean...
Hang on, where did we go on the second afternoon? What was the name of that place?
When we went to the tap room.
Yes.
Yes, that was Jeremiah's tap room, owned by our good friend Grant McDonald.
Yeah, and Grant was a great host. Thank you very much indeed. In fact, funny enough, we bummed a meal off Donald on night 1.
Well, he offered to pay it.
We bummed lunch off Grant on
Well, we did offer to pay. They wouldn't take any money.
We did. And then on day 3...
Well, on day 3, I remember we went for lunch and I offered to pay.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because I felt, as I said to you, I don't think I've paid for anything since I've been here.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it, that you paid and it was £30 for 3 lunches.
Mind you, I realised why it was quite so small, that amount, because you had already picked up the tab for the
booze.
For the booze, yeah.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I picked up the sandwiches at the Champagne Bar at Edinburgh Airport today.
Yes.
Which was...
How much was that?
£69.
Was it?
Yes.
Hang on.
Yes.
Well, I didn't eat anything there.
Well, your daughter did, Emma.
Yeah, she had some smoked salmon.
The lovely Emma, yes.
Well, she's an expensive girl to have around.
Well, we did have half a dozen Bucks visitors as well.
Yeah, but still, that's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, it is quite a lot of money, yeah. But I mean, there you go.
You sure they didn't get it wrong?
Well, I don't know. I didn't look, you just sort of blindly pay these things.
Oh, but you remembered the amount, though, didn't you?
Sorry?
But you remembered the amount.
Yeah, well, you do. You do remember the amounts because you say to yourself, well, how much would a glass of Bucks Fizz cost? £6?
Yeah, well, I suppose maybe a tenner.
No, I doubt it. It's only a little bit of champagne,
well, listen,
a bit of orange.
You're always talking to me about the Chiltern Firehouse, right? If I took you to the Chiltern Firehouse, a glass of Bucks Fizz would cost you about £18.
Yeah, but that's much more expensive than Edinburgh Airport.
Yeah.
And if that was £36, it meant that the rest was £30. So I don't really care.
You don't care? Well,
no,
why are you bringing it up then?
I think, only because I like to point out to the audience that I usually end up picking up the the more difficult catering bills.
Is that right? Yeah, well, funnily enough, one of the things that I did manage to do on the last night we were there, which was Sunday night, which I had wanted to do in other nights, but for some reason was too bladderated to actually manage, was to stop on the way home for a kebab. Because there's some great kebab shops in
and that was 3:30 in the morning?
This morning, yeah. Actually, a bit
earlier still open then?
Yeah, they're open. I mean, everything in Edinburgh's open all night. I mean, this was the thing that they were telling me. Every pub has got a licence during the Edinburgh Festival to be open till 3 a.m. That's normal.
Well, I must admit, I walked home the other day from your place when we went down for lunch on Sunday, and I walked back up, and I have to say, I didn't realise there were so many boozers on the way up. You know, a lot of them are that sort of got that Irish sort of look about them. They don't have great big windows. No. You know what I mean?
Well, do you know, until I think it was about 1977 or something.
Yeah.
The pubs in Glasgow, by a bylaw from the city, were not allowed to have clear windows. Because people were not allowed to look in and see people drinking.
That's right. Yeah, I remember.
So many of the old ones have still got like blacked out windows.
Absolutely. But anyway, we should tell our listeners about a few of the shows. Yes. Went very well indeed. It was 1 hour, so it surprised us a little bit at how fast we got through it, and we had to tailor them. But a few things in there that we'll be bringing to our next live shows.
Yes.
And all in all, it was a great experience. And thank you to everybody who came along to see us.
We should also thank John and the guys from Regular Music.
Absolutely.
Who were the people that put it on for us.
Absolutely. And the amazing spectacle of the dressing room was that they actually converted a whole of another theatre into dressing rooms.
Right.
So we got 2 rows.
So it was like a row of seats that were banked, right?
That's right.
All the way up.
Yeah.
But they also put a curtain around so that if you wanted to sort of have privacy, you could have this black curtain.
That's right.
Which we didn't really need.
No, we didn't need, but we got 2 rows, didn't we? And everybody else got 2 rows. It was amazing, though, because there's so many acts there.
Well, the thing before us as well was this dance. It was a kind of improv dance and singing group from America.
About 12 of them.
There was about 12 of them. Yeah. So they would come off stage, and we'd have about 20 minutes to go on stage.
That's right.
But they'd have all this stuff that they were bringing out. And it was quite often a bit of a tight squeeze.
Yeah, it was a bit. And putting our video screen was a tight squeeze as well, because it's huge. I didn't realise how big it was till they brought it out.
Right.
Also, there was apparently some American comedian on 2 shows before us.
That's right.
Who is
massive in America.
Massive in America.
When you say massive, he does like 3,000 to 4,000 every time he does a show.
He sells out Madison Square Garden and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
The problem is we've never heard of him, have we?
Well, my daughter had heard of him.
Yeah, can you remember his name? No, I can't.
Ron somebody.
Is it Ron?
Is it Ron White, maybe?
Was he from Texas?
Yeah, he was from Texas.
Yeah, like a Texas guy, and he tells pretty lurid jokes. And that sort
certainly
of thing,
there were some jokes that she told me that we wouldn't be able to tell on talkRADIO.
No, definitely not. I hope not, no. So all in all...
But 50,000 acts...
Yes,
I mean that's what we were part of. We were part of this massive sort of festival of the arts.
Yes, absolutely.
Which got us a slightly different audience as well.
Indeed,
quite a few people that came to see us who wouldn't normally. A lot of our regular fans came, and we're very grateful for that.
They certainly
did.
But
the funny thing is that, and I was saying this to James. When you're sitting there after the show would finish, and the first night we were out upstairs in some VIP bar, which Donald got us into. And,
that's right. Yeah.
Because there were so many people continuously coming in. Yeah. You just think constantly that it's a bit like being in Las Vegas where there's no clock.
Yes, I totally agree.
Well, it must be about 2 o'clock.
I totally agree. It was very bright in that bar. It was an outside bar as well, because people were up there smoking. You're quite right. It was so busy that there was never a moment when you thought, oh, it's trailing off, it must be getting late. It was just constant. Right. And at 4:30 or 4:45, I looked at my watch, I thought, I better get home.
Yeah.
And walked off home, because Edinburgh's not a huge city. It's an impressive city. Right. And the architecture there, when you go up to the castle and all that, is absolutely marvellous. The festival itself attracts people from all over the world, some of whom come to perform, some of whom pay to come to perform. They actually hire their own theatres.
Because there's and also like the improv group, there's so many of them.
Yes.
So they couldn't possibly make enough money.
Any money out of it, because they only charge like a £5 to get in. But mostly as well, there are people who come there who are enterprising from all over the world, and they work for a month.
Yeah.
And one of the people I'm thinking about is the Darth Vader and Star Wars Trooper duo, who literally stood on the street in their costumes, very impressive costumes, and basically didn't charge to have their picture taken, but all sorts of kids passing by, can I have my picture taken and all that. And I saw the average money people were throwing in, including Emma, Emma.
Was it not £1? I think it was £1.
No, £2 mostly. Most of the people putting £2 in, throwing it into it.
Yeah, no, you see, I don't think they were part of the festival. Do you think they were part of the festival?
No, I think they were Russian anyway, because what the punchline to it all was when the young lady... when the figure in the Star Wars Trooper white outfit, like the RoboCop type thing, when he took his helmet off, it was a she, and then she was a lovely Russian girl.
That's right.
And
in fact, I've got a picture here, which I think we'll put out on Twitter.
I think we should,
during the course of the show.
Yeah.
Possibly before and after.
But I reckon we were there doing a bit of filming next door for about 40 minutes or something. At least 20 people had their picture taken. They were all thrown in £2. So I reckon they were in about 60 quid an hour.
Yeah.
And I bet they're working 10 hours a day.
Yeah, probably.
So that's 600
She was
quid.
actually going to come to the show, wasn't she? But I don't know whether she tried to come and couldn't get in.
I don't know.
We told her she was welcome to come.
And I bet they did every day for 30 days. So £600 at 30. £600 at 10 is 6,000. Times 3 is 18,000.
Why are you working it out that way?
Well, because that's how I work things out in my head. You know, my head is like a...
You said they're making 60 an hour?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How many hours a day?
I reckon at least 10.
No, 10
No,
hours
they
a
would
day.
be. They'd be there. I bet you might. They'd be there at 10 in the morning. I bet you they'd be there till 8 at night.
No way.
I'm telling you. They would be.
I don't think they could do 10 hours.
Well, I think they could, and you only stand on the street, basically.
That's 600 quid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Times 7.
Yes.
4,000 what?
A week.
200
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
Yeah, 16, 17,000.
Yeah,
exactly. That's right. It's
Not
exactly
bad
what
money.
I'm saying. And you know, who knows? They might still live in somewhere like Latvia or something like that. But I mean, that keeps people going. I admire people with that sort of initiative. There are all sorts of people there doing all sorts of things. See the guy who was who had a stall where he built the body of a typical sort of Scotsman with a furry face, beard, and kilt. You know,
the body of a Scotsman.
Yeah.
What is the body of a Scotsman?
Well, you know, the caricature that people think of a Scotsman. You know, a guy a bit sort of Rabsy Nesbitt. You know, I mean, this was a caricature, by the way. It wasn't real.
Yeah.
And a guy with a tartan kilt and big burly hairy legs. You know, and the bottom of a face with a big ginger beard, and then the top of a head with a tam o' shanter on, and all the little kids come along and climbed up the steps at the back and stuck their face in. You see,
that was like those things you see down at the South Bank.
Exactly. You know, had their pictures taken. So it was really a great lot of fun. You know, do you know what I find?
And what was the thing that surprised you, say, the most about what you found in Edinburgh? Because you said yourself you hadn't really been in Edinburgh that much.
Well, the thing that most surprised me was that the BBC didn't show Match of the Day, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm sure there must be an awful lot of interest in the English Premier League in Scotland.
And they have their own show.
They have their own show, do they?
Well, yeah.
Are you sure they didn't show on Saturday night? Because I'm talking about Sunday morning at 7:25, and I usually watch the replay.
I was going to say, what were you doing up at 7 on Sunday morning?
Well, you know, what time we get in, 5 or something. I only need a couple of hours sleep, as you well know. And they didn't show that. Now, the other thing that really amazed me, you worked in the newspaper industry in Scotland, but I cannot believe that so little English content is in the Scottish newspapers. I know it's all, I say, you know, it is the Scottish Daily Mail, it is the Scottish Mirror, whatever. Yeah. But I was amazed that.
Well, you know what? The one paper that you should have bought if you wanted English content was the Mirror. Because they did away with the Scottish edition altogether.
Well, funny enough, I got a Telegraph in the end, and that was almost like the English edition.
Yeah.
But you know, stories which I thought would have quite interested Scottish people just weren't there. But I mean, look, that's fine. They've got their
but you see, no, but that was
their own
always
country.
That was always the secret of how to balance the newspaper.
Yes.
Because if you made it too Scottish, then you're basically saying to the people who are buying it, you're not interested in anything else. And so you have to make sure that you keep all the interesting stuff.
Sure.
Because otherwise you end up making it look ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now,
while we were away, by the way,
yeah,
somebody drove into a bridge going over the M20.
Oh, I heard
brought
something
it
about
down.
Oh, so I heard something about terrible problem traffic-wise on the M20.
I wonder if anybody knows what went on, because apparently there was a crane on the back of this lorry, and the arm of the crane was just too high or something, or it was a digger. I think it was a digging machine or something. Right. The arm was just too high, and so as they went under the bridge, it caught the bridge, and bingo, you can imagine what kind of a smash-up that was.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. Well, we'll talk a bit more about that. We'll talk about a few other stories that have happened while we were away.
Yeah.
And, of course, because the one I spotted was that poor guy who normally swam the channel once before.
Well, shocking.
Swam the channel.
Nearly got there.
But died just before he got to Calais.
A few hundred yards.
I haven't really had it explained to me precisely what happened.
Well, I suppose you just fatigued
we will
himself,
get to that. We've got
it?
Kevin O'Sullivan, our good friend, coming up a little bit later on.
Yeah, we certainly
to talk about what he thinks of the TV at the moment. Victoria is on again. Cold Feet is coming back.
Victoria.
All right, you don't have to sing.
That was a Ray Davies song for the Kinks.
Yeah, it may well have been. We are the Two Mics. We are here all week at this time, 7 to 10 at night. It's going to be very exciting.
You're listening to the Two Mics on TalkSport.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged. we are the Two Mics. We're here with you all this week from 7 till 10 in the evening, which will be a bit different for us.
Yes.
We've been doing a little bit different shows from here, there, and everywhere. People say they're having trouble following us. Well, just follow us on Twitter at the Two Mics, at IROMG, and at Mike Parry 8, and they can always know what we're doing.
They certainly can.
And on Facebook as well. Now, if you look on our Twitter account, you'll see our Star Wars pictures, which was all part of a thing that we're doing, because we're going to put a video out, hopefully for Christmas, which will basically be our trip to Edinburgh.
It will be.
Bit of live stuff, bit of walking around the city.
That's right, bit of seeing what's going on in Scotland. Wonderful country, Scotland.
It is amazing, isn't it?
It was a pleasure to be there, yeah.
I'll tell you what else was amazing.
So rich in culture.
Yeah, we were there for 3 days. It didn't rain.
No, it didn't.
Which is fantastic.
Mind you, I loved it when we got off the plane on Friday because it was so boiling hot for me last week. I hate this weather, I really do. And you've got to remember on Friday, we had to lug in a couple of cases because we were going up to Scotland, right? Now, you know, you can say, we'll get a cab and all that. But the problem is there are some distances which are too long to walk with a heavy case, but too short to get a cab.
Like,
you know
for
what
example,
I mean?
where we went to the tube station.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. You know, by the time you get there, I mean, what is it, 400 or 500 yards? You know, you'd love to jump in a cab, but you feel you can't stop a cab for that short distance. You have to walk. So that was all, and we had to get out to Gatwick very quickly. So that was all rush. So then we got on the plane, and we get down in Edinburgh, and my God, when they opened that door, it was like the reverse effect you get when you go to Mallorca.
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, from the oppressive heat of the previous week, the door opens and whoosh, it was like
it was very pleasant,
like a cold air blower coming through, and it was great on Friday. Saturday was too hot. I put my jacket on in Edinburgh when we went out to do some stuff on the streets, and wish I hadn't, because it was too hot. Now we want to see your mate Grant, who gave me haggis for lunch.
Well, a lot of people have been asking if you had haggis.
Yeah,
because,
I did.
I mean, some of the Scottish experiences we'll need to talk about, right?
Well,
but it wasn't normal haggis, was it?
It was haggis fritters. Yeah. It was lovely. So they patty it up into sort of like almost miniature beef burgers, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And then they deep fry it, which is lovely. But amazingly, it came with a tin of spam fritters.
Yeah. Well, not spam fritters, spam chips.
Spam chips. So these were chips made of spam.
And see, when he said to me spam chips, I thought what he meant was basically something that he would fry in some kind of spam sort of flavoured oil.
That's right.
I thought it'd be actual potato chips fried in spam oil. But it turned out that, because I picked one up thinking it was a chip. It was shaped like a chip.
Wasn't it? It was spam.
But it was a piece of spam cut in the shape of a chip.
But better than that, these are all served in a tin of spam.
Yeah, they were quite good, weren't they?
They were lovely. Well, they've obviously gone somewhere and collected all these old tins of spam and polished them up and all that, and that's the container in which they come. Yeah. It was all great. It was a great cultural experience.
Yeah. And what about, you even had some whiskey as well, didn't you?
Not much. I had some last night before the show.
I made you take a dram.
Was that Glenlivet?
That was Glenlivet, yeah.
Oh, Glenlivet, yeah. You asked for a whiskey in a bar yesterday, didn't have it. They ran out.
Yeah, the Balvenie. They went and got some more, though.
Balvenie.
Well, we had decided at one point, because even though we were in a place of great cultural significance, having had lunch, and I had smoked haddock, which was very nice. We wanted to go watch a bit of football.
We did.
So we went to see Manchester City against West
Ham.
Ham.
That's when you got stuck into the whiskey.
Well, I thought I should have the traditional Scottish afternoon drink, which was a pint. And a little short with whiskey.
Sure. Now, to explain to our millions of listeners where we were, Leith Dock is at the bottom of Leith Walk, isn't it, basically?
It is, basically.
And Leith Walk goes almost right up to sort of Princes Street, doesn't it? So,
it does.
So it's a major into town. What absolutely amazed me was, Edinburgh's easy to work out if you want to know where to walk. Get a bus up Leith Walk into town, because it's all uphill, and walk back down the hill.
Well, you see, the original thing as well about the trams, which is what I was telling you, the trams were originally meant to go all the way down Leith Walk, but they ran out of money. So the trams now stopped in Princes Street and don't go down there.
That makes sense, because in the middle of Leith Walk, there's like a gully of about 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah, well, they built all that.
And you're thinking, what was this for?
Well, you know, not only that, but they did an awful lot of damage because, and I'm sorry if this sounds a bit too localised for people who are not living in Edinburgh, but basically they closed down a lot of pavements while they did all the work for the trams.
Yes.
So a lot of businesses went out of business.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but they were...
That's terribly bad news. They got trams in Croydon.
Yeah.
Got trams in Manchester, Salford
Sheffield,
Keys, where we went there. Sheffield, they got trams. Got trams all over the place now, so pity they couldn't make it work. But anyway, point of my story is, right, so all these people, when I came out to see you the other day, because you were down the bottom end, you were down like sort of Leith Docks.
I was down at Leith Shore, as they call it.
Leith Shore, that's right,
Which, you know, is where Mary Queen of Scots landed when she first came back from her exile in France.
You told me that, yeah. Interesting.
And that was before she headed off to Linlithgow, where she had a palace, where she used to live.
Have you seen that palace?
Yeah, I've walked around it. Well, I used to live in that town,
That's
right,
I
had a house there.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Now, so these people, right, get on their bikes down at Leith Shore, and then they start cycling up to Princess Street. Now, I would say that's probably 1.5 miles, and it's all uphill on a very gradual gradient.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything so ridiculous in my life because I walked back yesterday after seeing you.
Yeah.
I was going faster at walking pace than this guy was on his bike. I mean, this guy had one of these bikes that had probably 68 gears or something.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's going lower and lower and lower into a lower gear.
And so his feet are going round faster and faster.
Yeah, I mean...
It gets to a point where their feet go around so fast that they move so little that it seems bizarre.
I thought he was going to fall off his bike because he was in such a low gear and pedalling so fast. And he's quite an old guy as well. He looked quite ridiculous,
older than you?
Oh, well, of course he's older than me. Most people are older than me. And
most people who are older than you are dead.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it? And I thought, what is the point of all this? Now, you know who comes down the other way, which is almost a public liability? Yeah. Kids on skateboards.
Yeah.
I mean, they come down at the speed of light.
You make it sound like a very dangerous place.
Well, it's not dangerous. I didn't feel threatened or anything like that.
The pavement's quite wide. Now, we've got a call here, David. He wants to talk about our show in Edinburgh. I'm not quite sure what he wants to say. It could be risky, this one. Yeah. Hello, David.
Mate, how you doing?
Yeah, very well indeed. Welcome
David.
to the show. Now, it was only a few hours ago we were in Edinburgh. Are you still there?
No, I'm in Kilmarnock.
Oh, are you? Okay. Did you come to one of the shows?
Yeah, well, it's funny, mate, because I know you from Edinburgh. You used to work there.
I used to work in Edinburgh, yeah.
Yeah, I know you because I used to listen to your radio show.
Oh, right, okay.
Right, okay. And what do you think of the show in Edinburgh this week?
Yeah, it was good, yeah.
What do you mean good? Good? That sounds that's a bit sort of blasé, isn't it? Yeah, it was good. It was good. You're supposed to say it was brilliant.
No, hang on. He came all the way from Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
So, be nice to him.
Right, I'm going to be nice, yeah.
No, Mike Graham are talking here. Mike Parry's always no nice, mate.
Yeah.
No, I'm always nice to you. It's just that I need a bit more praise to feel good about myself.
Yeah, he likes to have lavish amounts of praise heaped upon himself. You know what I mean?
Do.
Well, honestly, like all the time, you're always going on about Everton and all this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple of Everton fans turned up as well.
It was actually, yeah. Yeah, one guy said, I've got to go now, I've got to get me train.
Yeah.
We said, have you come up for the show? No, I've lived here for 25 years. But he certainly hasn't lost his accent.
No.
His Merseyside accent, I'm telling you.
Your team will get beat by Liverpool the next time they play you.
No, I don't think they will, mate. And I used to like you, David, but now you can push off, okay? I'm only joking, pal.
Cheers,
Thank
David.
you very much indeed for ringing.
Thank you very much for ringing. And, of course, we will be taking a few calls over the course of this week. Because we're doing lots of different things. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, we're going to talk to quite an important man, right, who is from The Economist, of all things. And his name is Edward Lucas, senior editor. Now, that's the sort of job you'd have liked to have, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've had jobs like that, of course.
Like that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a terribly well-read journalist and an expert on sort of what you call international affairs, really. And he'll put into perspective the position regarding Putin and Trump and, what have been escalating rumours over the last couple of years about the sort of involved relationship they might have.
You do have to wonder, don't you, that in the year of the American election for the president, that the Russians must be doing all sorts of things to either influence voting or just to put out propaganda. They must, they can't have no interest in it.
Yeah, I tell you what was so interesting. It was when Donald was telling us today about the man Berezovsky, right? Yeah. Because we know Berezovsky from him going around London. Yeah. This man's dead now. This is the man who allegedly committed suicide in his £4.5 million house in Surrey after he lost a massive court case in which one of the participants was
Roman Abramovich.
And it involved hundreds of millions of pounds in claims and counterclaims. Yeah. And Mr. Berezovsky lost. Yeah. And not long after that, he was found dead in his bathroom in very suspicious circumstances.
Thought to be suicide, right?
Well, I don't think it's ever quite. I think there was no proof verdict.
But I mean, the belief was that the story that was put out was that it was suicide.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is,
he may well have been snuffed out.
Yeah, exactly. This Mr. Berezovsky, this is what's so interesting. We used to see him in London, and you knew when he was coming because a fleet of black Range Rovers would suddenly arrive at a restaurant to where he was going for lunch. These guys would get out, go in the restaurant. They without even speaking to the manager or owner, they go straight through to the bathrooms. They check all the bathrooms. They check every nook and cranny of the restaurant. Right. Presumably looking for potential assassins.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true.
And possibly bombs.
And bombs and all that kind of
Grenades.
stuff. And then Mr. Berezovsky would come in and dine at a table that was literally surrounded by his own bodyguards with a couple of very good-looking young ladies. And
that may or may not have been expensively paid for.
Well, who knows? I'm not going to get into that. But the reason we're telling you this is because when we were with Donald earlier today, he said he got a call once from a chap who was representing Mr. Berezovsky, who said he wants to come to Glasgow, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, he said, what do you want to do? He said he wants a nightclub of his own, don't let anybody else in. Yeah. He wants a restaurant, you know, and he wants protection, which was all provided by our friend.
Yeah, but he had protection as well, though. He had the protection.
He had, but he wanted his protectors to carry guns, and of course, it had to be pointed out to him, you can't do that in this country.
Yeah, well, some of them still do.
Well, exactly, I'm sure they do. But
because there was a death notice on him, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
Various hits that put out for him.
Yeah, that's right.
Fascinating stuff.
Oh, absolutely fascinating. And the way Donald told it, you know, the way that these guys operate. Somebody rang somebody up who worked with Donald and said, look, what Mr. Berezovsky would like to do is like to offer you a job to do this. Oh, he said, well, I'm not interested in that. No, I don't think you understand.
Yeah.
That guy then went on to work for Mr. Berezovsky.
Yeah,
in
because
the same
he wasn't
way,
given the option.
No, that somebody else was wrong. Said, Mr. Berezovsky, very excited by your business. He'd like to make you a bid for it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not interested in selling my business. No, I don't think you understand. And finally, a house, which Mr. Berezovsky...
this was the one down in Surrey.
Yeah,
where
that's right.
I think where he eventually died.
Cherished, he had his eye on it. He said, knock on the door, literally a knock on the door. You know, hello, I represent a businessman of immense wealth, and he wants to buy your house. Oh, that's very kind of you. My house isn't for sale. No, I don't think you understand.
Yeah.
And this is the way the Russians do business.
Yeah.
The house was eventually sold to Mr. Berezovsky.
For about 5 times over the
I think
the odds.
The story we heard, and we can't corroborate this, was the house was worth about $4.5 million, and eventually it was sold for £20 million.
Yeah.
Who knows under what circumstances that deal took place? I don't know.
Yeah, very, very strange.
But Mr.
But these are offers. These are technically the offers that you cannot refuse.
Exactly.
Aren't they?
Yeah, they
a bit
are.
like the ones in the Mafia and the Godfather and all that. Fascinating stuff. Right. We've got loads more stories from Edinburgh.
Yes.
We've got many, many more things to talk about here as well. We are the Two Mics.
You're listening to the Two Mics on TalkSport.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged.
A very good evening to you. You're listening to the Two Mics. We're terribly sorry we're a bit late getting back from the Edinburgh Festival, but we're back now. And we're back now to give you another 2 hours of sparkling, firework-cracking radio.
Now, I did notice as we were coming down on the plane that you were perusing your journals, as ever, looking for more and more information and more research. So what have you been finding out? Well, it's one of the things about being away on a weekend like we've just been, is that you there's quite a few things pass you by.
Definitely.
I know you spend more time probably researching things than I do.
Yes.
But then that's because you like doing it. So what have you got for us?
Well, what I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, right, but we've got other things to talk about now, is I've read, I've nearly read, I've read the précis of a remarkable new book on the Beach Boys, OK?
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's all very well people saying, the Beach Boys, the Beach Boys. Well, I mean, believe it or not, most of the Beach Boys are still around.
I know, incredibly, yeah.
Well, no, Dennis...
Some of them may not be quite as they were formed originally.
Well, they're not, but this book is written by Mike Love, who was the lead singer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, obviously, the most famous family in the Beach Boys was the Wilson family. Carl Wilson, Dennis Wilson, and Brian Wilson.
That's right, yeah.
And Brian Wilson was the brains behind the whole group.
He was the one who had a bit of an episode for several years, right?
Oh, many years, 20 years.
Lived in a sandbox.
Yeah, he had a sandbox fitted below his piano in his home in Malibu because he liked to. But this is the interesting thing I found from this book. He liked to twinkle his toes in sand while he was writing music to give him the feeling for the old surfing safari and all that.
Right.
Except that Mike Love reveals in this new book, Mike Love is the lead singer guy, very prominent, obviously, front man.
Yeah.
That actually
very tall, I think, as well.
Yeah, very tall. Yeah, Brian never went to the beach because he didn't like the beach.
Really?
So they couldn't figure out why he had this sandpit put in.
I think he didn't want to be called the Beach Boys then.
I don't know.
It's a bit funny name for someone who doesn't like the beach.
It's absolutely right. He didn't like the beach. He wrote all the songs. But anyway, the point is...
Didn't they make movies and things on the beach as well? Well,
they made like what you call videos in those days, like reels, like motion reels or whatever they used to call it.
What do they call it? 80 millimetres
or something like that. But the point is, Mike Love said, I first realised it was all going wrong when we got back from one tour and Brian had come back a few days early. And they went to his house, and he'd converted it into like a tent.
Right.
You know, like a Bedouin tent.
Bedouin tent, like a sort of nomad.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And in the middle was this sandpit, you know.
But did he not also, he had his life kind of taken over by this guy, I don't know if it was the Primal Scream guy, but he was like this kind of lifestyle guru, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Basically, he couldn't do anything without consulting.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I haven't got to that bit yet. But the bit I've got to, which is absolutely amazing, it's Dennis Wilson, I think. Yeah. Now, Dennis Wilson is the one who died, I think, after driving off a boat in Venice Beach and never came up again.
Well, no, apparently there was worse than that, because he used to fly into rages, this guy, apparently.
Yeah.
And he flew into such a rage on this boat for some reason.
Yeah.
Whether it was because he wasn't getting the right fish or something like that.
That's right.
And he started chucking loads of stuff overboard.
Right.
And you know, in a sort of fit of pique.
Yeah.
And then realised as the rage faded,
there was some valuable
stuff.
stuff.
Some of the stuff that he'd sent out. So he better go and try and get it.
Yeah.
And he never came back.
No, that's right. He dived in, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
But
Tragic,
and
really.
of course that's not funny. But anyway,
No, of course not.
What happened was these are great untold stories. You know, Charles Manson is still alive and serving time in jail for the killing of
Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
And that horrible, ghastly sort of helter-skelter period. But I mean, every now and again, I think I'm right in saying, he comes up for parole. Because the system is such that, you know, unless you are sent to prison without parole, they can change that.
Yeah.
So every now and again, you can imagine him sitting in front of the parole board and them saying, like they did in the Shawshank Redemption, you know, so do you feel you're able to return to society, Mr. Manson? Oh, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
he
I'm
can.
fine.
Yeah, what is this?
I'm fine.
What is this black cross you have painted on your forehead, Mr. Manson? What? But anyway, Dennis Wilson comes home one day. His marriage had broken up, so he was renting a what's called the hunting lodge on Sunset Boulevard.
Uh-huh.
So he turns his Ferrari car into the driveway, goes up to the door, and then as he gets out of the car, a bloke slopes out of the shadows.
Right.
And Dennis Wilson said, "Who are you? What are you doing?" He said, "What? What are you doing? You're going to hurt me?" And this guy says, "Do I look like I'm going to hurt you? I'm a man of peace." You know, then he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm not going to hurt you. I want to talk to you. I've got information for you." Anyway, this guy was Charles Manson.
Dear me.
So
this was before the Sharon Tate killing.
Oh, very much so. Because what happened then was he had let Manson stay in his house for a couple of nights.
Right.
Manson then invited the whole of the murderous tribe that trailed around behind him to the house, right? So within months, it's not Dennis Wilson's house anymore.
So
they took his cars. No, they took his cars, and in the end, Dennis Wilson's only option was to move out.
Yeah.
So it was completely taken over. But get this is the amazing one, right? When it was still quite a cordial relationship, and Manson had only invited 2 or 3 of his followers in to, you know, live in parts of the house.
Yeah.
Dennis would go out and leave 2 young children with a babysitter. On one occasion, the babysitter revealed that her name was Susan.
Right.
Arrested after the Manson killings at 150 Cielo Drive, Ms. Atkins was convicted of participating in 8 murders.
Blimey.
And was sentenced to death.
Were they all living there while that was going on then?
Well, I don't know, because they don't know what they were doing. They didn't know whether they were going out murdering people or not.
Right.
They certainly weren't there when the Sharon Tate killings happened, because they were picked up very quickly after the Sharon Tate killings.
Right, okay.
But their murderous spree, which had gone on for years, was probably going on when they were living in his house.
They were using that as a base, though.
Yeah, but the babysitter, looking after 2 young children, was convicted of 8 murders and eventually got the death sentence.
Aren't the Beach Boys one of the only bands you've seen live, by the way?
I've definitely seen them live at
I
Wembley.
thought you said you saw them when they were playing with Elton John.
Yeah, on the same bill as Elton John. Yeah, I did.
And that must be quite a few years ago now.
Well, I tell you what, it must be. Do you know what? That could be up to 35 years ago, 36 years ago, something like that. Right. But no, Brian Wilson went completely mad because of the amount of drugs he was taking, according to this book. Yeah. And he would do things like drive into a gas station and then suddenly take great offence at the 7-Up machine. So he'd drive his car at it continually until he'd smashed it up, because he had this sort of idea that in some way that the 7-Up dispensing machine was giving him bad vibes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the way these people used to think in those days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the whole sandpit scenario. As I say, I can't remember this guy's name, but it was his idea, because he said to him, you've got so much money. Because again, when you think back to the days when these guys were first making it, nobody had ever seen young people like that with that kind of money.
No, that's right.
Without a kind of responsible job.
That's right.
And so they would say to them, well, actually, you can do anything you want. You can spend money on anything you like.
Sure.
You can make anything happen in your life.
Yeah.
And I will help you do it. But this guy guy, of course, became immensely wealthy because he paid himself effectively something like about $2 million a year.
Who's this?
This guru guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What, from their money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Wilson's money. And he said, basically, you can't do anything, you can't make any decisions without me. He effectively became his manager.
Yeah.
He became his agent. He became his kind of advisor.
Yes, that's
his
right.
mentor, all that stuff.
And the other thing that happened was, at the age of 24, Brian Wilson was being given such a hard time by the rest of the group and the management and the record company because a group called the Beatles in England were producing better records than them.
Right.
Every time the Beach Boys brought a record out, it was quite good until the Beatles brought their next one out, and then it wiped the floor with the Beach Boys.
Right.
And
they became quite paranoid about it, didn't they?
Well, yeah, but I'm not surprised. I mean, Brian Wilson wrote all the songs anyway. He was clearly the only, real musical talent in the group. And all the others were on his back saying, can't you write better records?
Yeah.
Can't you do better than Sgt. Pepper's?
Yeah.
Can't you? And the
and
record
then did Pet
company,
Sounds, which a lot of people thought was brilliant. Right?
That's right, yeah. And the record company would get on his back and say, how can you let these guys, these limeys, do all that kind of stuff, And it sent him so mad that on one occasion, it was with the Pet Boys thing, he made the rest of the group all lie on their backs in a farmyard and start making animal noises, which he wanted to then record and put on Pet Sounds. On another occasion, I can actually see the sensibility of this. He had his swimming pool drained completely and then insisted that they made a record inside the swimming pool.
Okay. Do you know that was the origin of skateboarding, don't you?
That was what?
That was the origin of skateboarding.
What was?
Not the Beach Boys, but draining swimming pools in California, and people used to skate inside the swimming pool.
Well, how
Why
would
are you
they do
looking so puzzled?
Well, because the swimming pool would slope, wouldn't it? So they'd go down to a brick wall at the end.
Or
a hard wall, anyway.
Yeah, but the whole idea of skateboarding began inside, empty swimming pools.
know that.
Because houses, when they were being when they were being either renovated or when they were being sold, would quite often have empty swimming pools.
No, I didn't know that. No, it's very interesting. I'm not sure it's true. But,
it is true.
Is it?
Of course,
Okay.
it's true.
But anyway, it was.
By the way, David, on a point of order,
Yes.
says the story of the bridge on the M20. The bridge collapsed and then the lorry hit it. Amazing, no one was hurt.
Well,
it wasn't the lorry that hit the bridge.
Okay, well, I'm behind on the news reports. I mean, I didn't see a lot of news over the last 3
I
days.
thought you said
because,
you did.
No, I didn't. I tried to pick it up on the BBC as and when I could, but I didn't have access to a rolling news programme. I was only having to watch it at 9 o'clock when it was on or something like that.
Didn't you have TV?
Yeah, I had TV, but I didn't have a rolling news programme.
What do you mean, didn't have the news channel?
No, didn't have Sky News
Why not?
Channel and didn't have the BBC News Channel.
Why not?
I don't know. How do I know? I didn't programme
Well,
the
you
TV.
sure you just couldn't work the television?
No, of course I could work the television. And that was another strange thing. I had a television in my bedroom and a television in the lounge, and they had different controls. They were coming from separate discs or separate dishes or something. They weren't the same. Normally in a small house like that, both your televisions are linked to each other.
Maybe you didn't switch on the right remote because it could be that they were working off the same box or something.
No. I knew
It sounds like you may have cocked that
up.
up.
No. I knew what I was doing, honestly. I
You've
really
seen
knew
the
what I was
time,
doing.
by the way.
By the way, it was an interesting talk to our friend Donald about the amount of bands and groups he's promoted across not just Glasgow and Edinburgh, but the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got a few big names
Got the Bay
going on
City
tour
Rollers
soon.
coming up soon.
He's got Bay City Rollers coming up in December. That's amazing. The Bay City Rollers
And we
hit the road
past,
again.
we walked past Usher Hall as well with him today, where he put on Oasis.
Where we all shang-a-lang when we sing to the gang, do it.
I don't think we're going to hear any. No, I don't think we want to hear any Bay City Rollers music.
Yeah. I know the Bay City Rollers were great. I mean, I was never a fan of theirs in the sense that I wasn't a roller, you know what I mean? Like these young ladies who used to wear tartan and all that. But I thought, as a marketing image, they were brilliant, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
And they're still making a lot of money.
They still make a lot of money. I think there's a bit of a dispute inside the band as to...
Yeah, all right. Well, don't start giving all the secrets away you've been told. I mean, you're the most indiscreet man I've ever known.
No.
You know, for heaven's sake. Now, we've got lots more coming up. We're going to talk to Kevin O'Sullivan later on in this hour because he's going to tell us what he thinks of Victoria coming up very shortly. And also, he's going to tell us whether he thinks bringing Cold Feet back is a good idea.
You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged. whether this is in the sandbox phase of the Wilson writing scenario.
I think it was. The other thing with the Beach Boys, right, we'll move on in a minute, obviously. But
we've got to talk to Kevin O'Sullivan.
Exactly, fascinating book. But to this day, there's massive dispute over royalties within the group. You know, who wrote what. Mike Love says, I wrote that very famous one, you know, I really love the
Good Vibrations.
Good Vibrations.
Yeah.
And
I'm amazed I could actually recognise it from your very paltry intro.
But apparently what happened was in those days, really small things, like if he wasn't credited on the album sleeve, then the guy who, you know, the other guy who wrote it and the people who own the rights say you had no part of it. Yeah. And he says, I did, I wrote it. Go and ask Brian Wilson. Brian said apparently he can't remember who wrote what, you know. Yeah. He thought he wrote everything.
When you're on that much acid, it's sometimes difficult to remember precisely what happened. Now, let's talk to Kevin O'Sullivan. Everyone's favourite, not everyone's favourite TV critic, but certainly ours. Yes. Kevin, a very good evening to you.
Hello, mate.
How are you?
I'm all right, mate.
Good. We're a bit slap happy because we just got back from Edinburgh. Literally straight off a plane, came in here, missed the start of the show, but now here we all are.
Were you doing your show up there?
We were. We did 3 shows. Yeah, they all started at 11 o'clock at night.
Did anybody turn up?
Yeah. A couple of people. We forced a few people in, tied a few up, and brought them in. But the worst thing was staying sober till 11 o'clock at night to go on.
Well, that must have been tough.
That was very difficult.
We promised the people who did come free drink, and then of course we welched on the deal after the end of the show. So that's our normal tactic. Yeah. Kev, great to have you on. Great to have you on, because one of the things I've missed over the last 2 nights, having been in Edinburgh and now in here tonight, is Victoria, which my mum is besotted with. Is it any good?
Yeah, I loved it, actually. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing tonight's. I saw last night's one sort of last week, and I was big upping it the whole week because it really is a fantastic sort of special Sunday night drama, but it's a great drama. It's historical, it's got the royal element. And Jenna Coleman, who plays Victoria, is amazing. Yeah. And she's got all these scenes with Rufus Sewell, who plays Lord Melbourne, who was like the Prime Minister and her mentor that she had a bit of a thing for before she hooked up with Albert. Yeah. And he rejected her advances, but he was her friend and he helped her become the Queen, sort of thing. And their scenes are electric. There are a couple of actors who have fantastic chemistry. So yeah, highly recommended. I think it's great TV drama. It really is.
It sounds a bit dull to me. The sort of drama I like is one that's got action in it, like Peaky Blinders. You know what I mean?
It's a bit lacking in car chases, but apart from that,
you quite liked Versailles, though, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I did, but I didn't.
That was mostly because of all the people taking their clothes off.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but I didn't watch that to the end because it came a bit samey to me. I quite liked. Was it War and Peace? The big production in St. Petersburg. I quite like that, but I do prefer these dramas to have an edge to them. Like, for instance, Kev, while I've got you on, is it called One of Us or something? That's
quite good.
This fantastic Scottish thing where a series of complete coincidences, almost bizarre happenings, it's fantastic. I don't know who wrote that.
I think it's like, I call it it's like a situation drama. Yeah. So the reason it works, I mean, it's got a good cast, it's well written, but it's a brilliant situation that they've set up. You know, this weird thing that a couple get murdered in Edinburgh. Yes. Turns out they were brought up on adjoining farms in the middle of nowhere in Scotland. Yeah. And the guy who killed them ends up on the doorstep of one of these farms. Yeah. So, and the rest, so it's very, very intriguing and a kind of compelling thing to watch. And as I say, it has got a very good cast, and I agree with you. It really works. It's a very Moorish drama.
It does seem as though there's, I mean, you'll know this better than me, but it does seem as though there's now a willingness to spend more money on sort of TV drama than there has for a very long time. I mean, the success of all of these big hits coming from America, like Homeland and House of Cards and all that. I mean, is that true? Is more money being put in now?
Well, I think that they do like to spend money on drama because drama is the best banker that television has got. You know, unless you make a real screw up of it, usually a drama will pay dividends. You know, you'll get sort of 5 million plus as long as you promote it right, get a couple of kind of popular actors. It should pretty much work. Whereas other formats, you know, reality or variety. Entertainment shows are a little bit hit or miss. Just ask people who make.
Well, I guess they can resell it as well, can't they? If you're successful, sell it to America.
Exactly. And that's why I do believe, don't quote me on this, but I think there might be some nice sex scenes coming up in Victoria. So don't give up on it yet, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, well, that's not my motive for watching these things. It's the dramatic appreciation.
Of course.
Now, Kev, listen, Cold Feet's coming back. Now, I must be the only person in the whole of the world who thought Cold Feet was a load of old cobblers the first time round, and I've no intention of watching a rehashed old cold potatoes new version of it. Am I the only man who feels like this?
Yeah, I think that ITV are kind of relying on the fact that you won't be very typical of a mass audience out there. It's going to be a massive hit, definitely. It can't go wrong. But apparently, it's the creator, a guy called Mike Bullen, says it's going to be very hard hitting. So you've got the original cast, Jimmy Nesbitt, Robert Bathurst, Faye Ripley, Hermione Norris, John Thompson. They're all coming back together. But of course, the first 5 series dealt with them kind of, settling down, having children, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Now they're that much older. It's going to be about how they're having to think about themselves again, and they're getting into middle age and late age. So apparently, for example, it's going to deal with some hard-hitting issues. And apparently, one of the things it's going to dwell on is male depression. Yeah. So it might not be as light and trite as people might hope.
Oh, I see. I see.
I must admit, I've not actually ever seen it.
No?
No. So, I mean, you got you here who didn't like it.
Well, I only watched one episode and thought, what's all the fuss? I just didn't get it. And Jimmy Nesbitt wasn't that well known in those days, was he?
Well, he was by the time it ended.
Well, I think nearly the entire cast, this was their launch programme. This is what launched their careers. And all of them have hung on to it pretty well, particularly Jimmy Nesbitt is now arguably our leading television actor.
Well, I mean, he was brilliant in that Irish one, The Secret. I mean, he was so brilliant in that, I couldn't believe it. And
he was good in The Missing.
He was as well. But to portray, a religious crank who at the same time...
Yeah, you're right.
Was a sexual pervert and at the same time could plot murder in his head and be so evil. He was an astonishing performance. Do you know what, Kev? That was written by an old mate of mine, the book itself.
Out there, right, yeah.
Who ran the PA in Northern Ireland in Belfast for about 20...
And that's where that town where it happened is where Jimmy Nesbitt's from.
That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
So he knew the whole story. Yeah. He experienced it when he was there. So it was a natural role for him. But I agree with you. He played that role brilliantly.
Yeah, indeed.
And are they making? Did I not read that they're making another Missing? Or they're planning.
Oh yeah, they are making another Missing, but Nesbitt's not in it. I think it's got what's her name, Keely Hawes, and I can't remember the male actor. But so Missing is like a franchise. There's going to be loads and loads of missing kids, I suppose.
Right. What else are you looking forward to coming up? Because as we're coming into the autumn, presumably we're going to get we'll get a new series of Doctor Who. There'll be loads of new stuff coming up.
Well, I've just finished watching because I've got to do a preview tomorrow on another radio station that I won't mention.
No, don't mention it. It's not as good as this one.
Of course it's not.
No.
But just watching Poldark comes back.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and will he be stripping off his shirt every possible chance he gets?
I've just watched it, and I can exclusively reveal that it seems to me that it's every episode, about 90% of it is him, is Poldark, galloping along the cliff tops with his three-cornered hat on, looking moody, and women sort of staring out to sea with... With wind billowing through their hair,
But it's going to be intriguing, the first episode, because at the end of the last series, he was carted off to Nick, wasn't he?
Yes. Well, I can't. I don't want to spoil it for
people. No, of course not.
Put it this way, it gets worse.
It gets worse. That's great. Now, the only other
women do love it, though.
Of course they do. Well, I love it. I think it's great. I love the drama, the historical.
There's some topless mining in it for the ladies as well.
Oh, yeah, I want a bit of that.
Down the mine and strips to his waist. So
listen,
that should be a winner.
The other one, Kev, because time is running out a little bit here, is can they possibly remake Alf Garnett's programme without the sheer brutal sort of political incorrectness that the first series 35, 40 years ago or 50 years ago contained?
It seems to me that would be very difficult to do. I mean, I watched the other two, Are You Being Served, which was pretty much a faithful recreation of the original, which I didn't think much of anyway. Yeah. But it certainly was very honourable to the original.
Right.
Porridge, not quite so much, but fairly faithful. I can't, so in other words, wasn't wildly different to what we remembered them to be. I can't imagine they can do Till Death Us Do Part without changing some of the narrative. Should we?
Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, what we're going to have on the buses next? You know, the revamped version.
Seriously. If you look at an old Till Death Us Do Part, the dialogue in that today would be a hate crime.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know a bit about that, you know.
I do. Yeah, I'm an expert on hate.
I've yet to read because I didn't realise I'd somehow missed all of that, right? And when I saw your post on Twitter that you were on the cover of the Spectator, I just thought you were writing a piece for the Spectator. And
I did write a piece.
I know.
I gave it to you to read.
I know, but what I'm saying is I didn't realise all of that stuff had happened.
No, I know. Well, I didn't advertise it, but it was a nightmare, and it was Orwellian, and people just made up lies. The police lied. It's an unbelievable situation to get in, and that hate crime thing, to get a bit serious now, is the scourge of our times.
Of course it is.
People are getting arrested for thought crimes, and sort of hate speak is a weird thing. You know, people are getting criminal convictions for things they think, for opinions.
You're absolutely right, Kev. I mean, in that piece that you wrote in The Spectator under your own name, that was preceded, of course, by a 3-page piece by some other academic who said this hate crime nonsense is actually completely in reverse.
Yeah.
The people who are being discriminated against are those who are being accused of hate.
And it increases hate. It makes hate. It makes us into a much more hateful place than we are. The police are inflating and artificially exaggerating the figures.
Yes.
Every time somebody phones in, so all this stuff about hate crime after Brexit.
Yes.
Racist incidents. Every time that all that you had to do for a fully fledged race incident to be registered was phone your local Nick and just say, "I've heard someone being nasty to a Polish person."
Yeah.
Yes.
No defendant, no investigation, no court case, but that is written down as a statistic. So you don't want to believe that stuff. Hate crime is a big problem. It's what the police now have turned to now that they can no longer arrest 1970s celebrities for historic sex crimes because they've run out of celebrities. So they're now arresting all of us for not, for thinking things that are now.
It's amazing,
unbelievable.
You never would have thought that we could have got to this place in this country, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
Gone backwards.
It's terrible. It's really terrible.
Listen, Kevin. Well, we must talk about it, and you and I must have a drink.
High note.
Let's try and keep out of trouble in the meantime, right? And let's try and have a drink soon because we haven't had one for ages.
That'd be great to see you both.
Okay, Kev, many thanks.
Talk to you soon, Kev. Thanks very much. Thank you. Kevin O'Sullivan there, one of the great TV critics of our time.
Indeed.
Incredible story, that, by the way, we should get into. Maybe.
Just to explain.
Well, we haven't got time just now. Hold on to that thought and you can explain it. We are the Two Mics.
You're listening to the Two Mics on TalkSport.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still... Yeah, we can do a bit of that tomorrow, can't we? We're not going to do winners and losers tonight, though.
No, we're not doing winners and losers tonight.
There is nowhere to go with that at the moment. Stuart says this, Porky's knows we put out a joint, having a good TV reviewer on the show. And Pete says, at long last, a proper TV critic. Have we dumped Porky Vision?
What?
Absolutely not.
You're joking,
Porky Vision will be coming up.
Vision?
Porky Vision's still going. It'll be up on Wednesday.
I come at it from a different angle. So tomorrow night, it's Ask Porky. So I want you to send you... we want you, please, to send us the questions, the problems, the anxieties that you're having in life, and the old Portmeister here will change your life and help solve them.
And you hashtag it Ask Porky, and you can do it at the Two Mics, and I'll put it up on Facebook as well. I'll probably do that after the show tonight.
So hashtag Ask Porky and send it to at the Two Mics.
At the Two Mics,
That's it, yeah,
exactly
please.
right.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to tell us about the Kevin O'Sullivan
story?
Well,
the Kevin situation, I mean, my journals include political publications like Spectator, like New Statesman, like The Economist, like Time magazine in America, if you can get hold of it these days, although they don't seem to publish as fluorescently in Europe as they used to. But no, I read this piece and I thought, well, I know a guy called Kevin O'Sullivan, and it was a ridiculous story. Very basically, he and a mate, as I recall it was a few weeks ago and I read it, had been to a friend's funeral somewhere in, I think it was Kent.
Yeah.
Coming back, they were talking to each other on the train. When the train reached its terminus, another person on the train got up and accused Kevin of misogyny.
Right, having listened to the conversation?
Well, apparently, yeah, because he hadn't been talking to this chap. And misogyny being, of course, talking, in a not very nice way about women and this kind of stuff.
Right.
And Kevin completely denied it, and then...
There was a bit of argy-bargy,
yeah, the other chap, a bit of argy-bargy and a bit of push and shove. And anyway, it resulted in the British Rail Police, the British Transport Police being called.
Yeah.
So anyway, they then talked to each man individually and decided it wasn't an incident. And Kevin certainly, as I understand it, was told to go home and they'd forgotten about it. Following morning, the investigation was picked up again, and he was told...
He got visited at his house, didn't he?
He did, I think, yeah. He was told that the other person involved in this very mysterious altercation, because Kevin still has no knowledge of what he's supposed to have said, because he didn't say it, was now wanting to pursue a case, a hate crime case, and the prosecution. And this went on for, I think, 18 months. And Kevin kept denying it. There was no evidence. There was no witnesses. It was a his word against my word thing. The police were clearly on the side of this other chap. And the suspicion is, as Kevin quite rightly says, the police now encouraging people to, find hate crimes, is that the police weren't happy that this other chap didn't want to do anything about it and revisited him and persuaded him to pursue the case.
It's quite shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely shocking, considering there's no evidence.
And as he said, people tell lies. Quite often the police are acting on information given to them by people who have not told the truth, but they don't seem terribly interested in finding out whether it is the truth. They take the allegation and they just go with it.
I read a piece, in one of my other journals some time ago, to say the police haven't got enough to do these days. Now, the police are always saying we're overstretched and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But if you think about it,
well, it's a bit like Kevin said, they've now given up arresting,
celebrities and that kind of stuff,
for crimes which may or may not have happened.
Or like in Cliff Richard's case, which definitely didn't happen.
Well, having not arrested the ones who actually were committing crimes.
Exactly,
and letting them get away with it.
Let them get away with it all the time, But no, what I was going to say is that this piece said that, look, you don't see any bank robberies anymore because people don't need to rob banks anymore to get millions of pounds of money.
Right.
They just do it electronically.
Right.
You don't see...
Or they claim compensation for some crime that happened to them years and years ago.
Exactly, or something like that. The electronic world has made all sorts of things so much safer, you know what I mean? Cars are safer these days, so you don't need as much traffic control and all that. So the police had to find something else to do.
Yeah.
So they sort of took on the role as social workers and now are making decisions about people's lives based not on whether or not they had broken the law or not, but whether they were a nice person or not.
I know.
And
it is incredible.
And did they speak to their neighbour in a nice way and all this kind of stuff?
And there was
definitely,
I mean, up in Edinburgh, right? There was definitely a sense that despite the fact that this is the greatest arts festival the world has ever seen, there was definitely a sense that there were certain things that you mustn't say or certain things that you shouldn't say.
Yes, absolutely.
And that shouldn't be right because, as Kevin said, people are now being arrested for what they think.
Yes.
Before they've even said it.
Yes, that's right, Which
is madness, really.
Yeah.
Speaking of sort of armies of police and all the rest of it, did you notice that when we came in from Gatwick, on the train. There's this ongoing scenario where you might want to check, actually, because you're going to be taking trains a lot in the next week or so. There's going to be more strike action from Southern trains and also from Southwest, I think, as well.
Doesn't surprise me.
And one of the reasons they say they're going on strike is that there's not enough safety measures being put into place because there's not enough people to man the trains, not enough people to man the... and they say that the train companies want to take people off the trains. I didn't see anybody on the train for a start, as far as a ticket inspector.
Well, it was a very crowded train.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. There's loads of trains that are crowded.
That's right.
And most of them don't have ticket people on them.
They don't, no.
So there's already nobody on the train.
But there seem to be about 24 men with fluorescent jackets on the platform.
Yeah. Now, again, I can understand that they need to be safe and all the rest of it, but they really didn't need half the number that they had.
Did you see how many people had rucksacks on that train? You see, this is another of my bugbears.
It's an airport.
Yeah, I know, but, people...
No, it's an airport.
But the train was so crowded, the people with the rucksack should have paid double fare because they'd taken up double the space.
Rubbish.
No, they are.
No.
When somebody with the rucksack turns round
to
speak to the person behind them, they smash an innocent bystander.
Yeah, well, you whacked somebody with your bag, actually, when you came in and sat down.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You were unaware of it. The man was sitting opposite me.
Yeah.
You came in, you turned, you swiveled around to see what you should do with your bag, and you whacked him with it.
Well, in that case, I apologise to him.
Well, too late.
Why didn't he point that out to me?
Well, because he was too polite to say anything.
Listen,
but you acted like a very boorish person.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else that's happened since we've been away. Are you aware of something called the curse of the lottery? The lotto curse?
The curse of the lottery. Is this the one whereby you win the lottery, but then everything else goes wrong?
Yeah. And the first thing that goes wrong is usually your marriage.
I'm not aware of it happening too many times.
Did you see this one? A couple who won £2.3 million on the National Lottery a month after their wedding have now divorced and said that win has ruined both their lives.
Well, I mean, I can see...
£2.3 million. I mean, winning £2.3 million would not ruin my life.
Wouldn't it?
No.
Well, because you've already got £2.3 million.
No, well, I mean, that's irrelevant. I haven't. And that, you see...
Why is it irrelevant?
See, I regard that as a hate crime because you're trying to make me unpopular with the millions of people listening to this show.
Well, no, why would
I have a go at me?
I'm just trying to tell the truth about how much money you're worth.
Well, that's irrelevant.
Why is it irrelevant?
Why should a person be judged by how much he's got in his bank account?
But you judge people like that all the time.
Well, yes, but I think usually wealthier people are successful people, if you see what I mean. And I'd like successful people.
No,
it's quite simple as that.
What you actually mean is wealthier people are the sort of people that you want to mix with.
Well,
you're constantly deriding poor people as if it's somehow their fault that they're poor.
No, I'm not.
You look down upon anyone who doesn't drive as nice a car as you.
No, I don't.
Every time you see a nice car, you think, oh, that must be being driven by a nice person.
Did you see that four-door Bentley we saw tonight?
Well, that's the car that I spotted first, because I didn't know they made them.
Yeah.
Until we
Sorry, no, I don't mean a 4x4, but I mean a 4x4 Bentley.
4x4 Bentley, yeah. And we saw them down at Cheltenham, remember, because Bentley was sponsoring some of the races. When we went to Cheltenham earlier this year. When did we go to Cheltenham?
Yeah, when did we go to Cheltenham?
Earlier this year we went. We went on a Hawksbee and Jacobs down there.
Oh, indeed we did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we went straight from doing the overnight show down to Cheltenham.
We did, yes.
We weren't as successful as we were the previous year, unfortunately.
That's
so
right.
we didn't actually win any money. But that was when I saw these, and they look fantastic on the race course because, they look like sort of mini, not quite Range Rovers, but more luxurious in a way.
Yeah, no, I agree. But no, I know that we're all dealt a different set of cards in life, and I'm in no way dismissive of people who,
of course you
basically are salt of the earth, hard-working people who provide for their families and put a roof over their head and put food on the table and all that kind of stuff. I admire people like that.
Like that. You're trying to backpedal now, aren't you?
No, but what I'm saying is a couple who won £2.3 million on the National Lottery a month after their wedding have divorced and said that the winner ruined their lives.
Yeah.
Now, I just don't get that. Would £2.3 million ruin your life?
I wouldn't have thought so.
Well, exactly.
But it depends for some people on what their life is like and how they handle. I mean, if you've never been able to really spend money with abandon and without having to worry about it, and you suddenly can, I could imagine if you've been together for, say, how long have these people been married? 10 years or something? 20 years?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Which is it? 10 or 20?
What, the couple? I don't want to identify the couple concerned because I think it's an invasion of their privacy, really.
Well, why are you reading it out?
Well, I didn't. I just said a couple. I haven't named them.
Well, why wouldn't you name them? You name everybody else.
No, I don't think I should.
What difference does it make?
What?
What difference does it make? If they were already in the public eye for winning the lottery, and I think it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, I suppose not. But anyway,
since when have you turned into a defender of privacy?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, how long have they been married then?
This couple have been married, I think, about 20 years.
20 years, right.
Yeah.
So for 20 years, they presumably... Are you all right, by the way?
No, I've got a bit of a thing in the back of my throat. Sorry about it. I think it's the air conditioning.
Well, I'll tell you what, we can stop for a minute.
Somebody's got me a bit of water.
Have a glass of water. We'll have a little break, and we'll come back to this, because also I want to discuss, unfortunately, the death of Gene Wilder, who's died, aged 83.
Well, has that just happened?
According to the news this evening, yeah.
He was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
That's right. He was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1989, but he's passed away. So some people are asking us for a bit of a tribute to him, but we will do that. Also, I've got a note here from John Holmes, who you may remember we gave a good hard time to for coming in late the other day.
Yeah.
Dear the late Mikes, see, it can happen to the best of us, and also you too. Love, John.
Thank you very
much.
He's
obviously harbouring some kind of hatred for us, isn't he?
Is that a hate crime?
Yeah, I think it might be. He's obviously, very upset, because, I mean, to be honest, that was so long ago, I'd almost forgotten about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the difference between him and us, of course, is that we checked on his train times, and the trains weren't late.
No, the trains weren't late. He just didn't leave enough time to get to the office. Whereas we got a plane home because we weren't absolutely sure when we booked the flight.
Well, to be honest, originally we were supposed to be doing a different show.
Exactly, that's right. So we
had to be in Edinburgh this morning, and then the plans were changed
to do a show, and then the plans were changed. So, anyway, I think we made a good fist of a bad situation.
I think we did. Yes. I think we did very well by getting to London Bridge by 7:05, and then in here by about 15:15.
I think that was pretty impressive
amazing
stuff.
Absolutely
pretty impressive
amazing
stuff.
Now, we've got more coming up, including, of course, in the next hour, we're going to be talking to Edward Lucas about the new Cold War.
Oh, yeah.
And also we'll talk some more about Gene Wilder.
Indeed.
You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show, as you won't get through, but you still may be charged.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view
Gene Wilder, of course, in...
Right, what was that in? Willy Wonka?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, yeah, it was Willy Wonka. And so I've got this tweet here from Max Dillon Ketchum, who says, R.I.P. Gene Wilder, thank you for giving us arguably one of the best damn introductions to any character in cinema.
Who did?
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder was what?
What?
I didn't hear what you said.
What do you mean you didn't hear what I said?
Because you were mumbling.
I was not mumbling.
So what did you say?
I said, thank you for giving us arguably one of the best damn introductions to any character in cinema, which is his... what you've just heard when he was doing Willy Wonka.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Well, I never saw that film. Did you see that film?
You never saw Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
No.
Okay.
It was a kids' film, wasn't it?
Well, it was, but it's, I mean, like all great kids' films, it was also a film that parents could watch as well.
Well,
and that's the whole point of it.
I totally agree, but the thing is, if I didn't have a child to take to the film, I'm unlikely to go on my own, aren't I?
Well, you go everywhere else on your own.
No, don't be silly.
You go to the movies on your own all the time.
Yeah, but not to watch children's films.
But it's not a children's film. For example, would you call Edward Scissorhands a children's film?
Well, I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
Because I saw a cut from it in which somebody got a pair of shears and cut somebody's fingers off and they flew all over the place out of a boat that a load of children were in. I thought, I'm not going to watch a film like that.
Right.
That doesn't do me any favours at all.
Dara O'Brien, you know who he is, right? He's the Irish comedian, says, Gene Wilder has died. Sad news, but such a life well lived. For me, young Frankenstein just pips Wonka, but so many wonderful performances.
How old was he?
83.
83. That's a good old age, that.
Yeah, they're saying that he died late on Sunday in Stamford, Connecticut from complications from Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, well, you see, that's a problem,
which is very, very sad.
Yeah,
Stephen Fry, farewell, Gene Wilder, comic genius. Thank you for all those happy hours.
Yes.
Because he was nominated for an Oscar for Young Frankenstein. I mean, presumably you saw that.
That
was the one Marty Feldman was in.
Oh, no, I never saw that, no. I didn't like Marty Feldman. I couldn't stand watching Marty Feldman because his eyes bulge out so much.
Well, yeah, but that was part of his act.
I know, but it made me... I found him repulsive,
What about The Producers? Did you ever see that?
The Producers?
Mel Brooks? Did you ever watch any Mel Brooks films?
Is that about the Nazis?
Well, there was a bit of that in it,
Yeah. No, I never saw that. No.
I mean, I can't believe that what have you done with your life?
What do you mean?
You haven't seen anything.
I have.
The only movie you know about, right, is Top Gun.
No, I've seen...
And The Godfather, and that's about it.
No, that's not true.
Well, you haven't seen...
I've seen all the Bond films, haven't I?
You've seen all the Bond films?
I've seen all the Bond films, okay.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen Skyfall yet, have you?
Yes, I have.
Well, you haven't seen Spectre yet?
I have.
Where did you go and see Spectre?
I bought the DVD and watched it down on the coast.
Oh, really?
Seriously, yeah, and I thought it was rather long and winded and boring.
I didn't think it was great.
No. And I've seen all the Mel Gibson ones, you know, where he's the nutty detective over in L.A.
Which?
Was it in L.A.?
Who?
Where was it set?
Which? Beverly Hills Cop?
No, Mel Gibson.
Yeah, that was L.A. Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon, that's right. Yeah. So I saw all those. I've seen the ones you just said about,
Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, well, it's all in the 80s,
on the streets.
You've not seen a movie since about 1985.
Yeah, of course I have. I've seen, I've seen all the popular movies of recent culture. Look, for instance, I saw The Wolf of Wall Street, didn't I?
You did?
Yeah. So that was a great film.
But you didn't see it the first time you went to see it because you went to the wrong film.
I was inebriated and I walked into the wrong cinema.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't walk into the wrong cinema building, but you know these cinemas these days have like 10 screens and all that kind of stuff, and I went into the wrong one. Yeah. And it took me 20 minutes to work out why he wasn't on the screen in front of me. I realised it was the wrong film.
Yeah, right. But anyway, you should. I mean, it may well be because sometimes this happens that TV companies will put on some more movies in a tribute to sort of Gene Wilder.
Yes.
So if the producers or Young Frankenstein is put on TV,
did he make any other film but Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Yes, he did. He was twice Oscar nominated, once for The Producers and once for Young Frankenstein.
Oh, sorry, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, you think he was only in one film?
Well, I mean, most actors you remember for one film. I mean, for instance...
Most actors you remember for one film.
Well, you do. If I said to you Al Capone, what would you say?
What would I say?
Yeah.
Well, I would say Robert De Niro.
No. If I said Al Capone, which instant film comes to your mind? Al Capone?
Well, The Untouchables.
No. Sorry, I've got the wrong guy. Al Pacino. I mean Al Pacino.
You mean Al Pacino?
I'm going mad. Yeah, Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, I would say probably The Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. Godfather 2. Not even The Godfather. Godfather 2.
He was in The Godfather as well.
I know, but he was Michael Corleone, the ruthless boss. I mean, what was great
but he was Michael Corleone in Godfather 1.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, what was brilliant about...
He became the boss in Godfather 1.
I know he did, but but only at the end of the film when they all got down on his knees and started kissing his hand. What I'm saying is...
Well, he was made the boss pretty much shortly after he killed the police captain and then had to go and live in seclusion in Italy.
Exactly, but Godfather 2 was a brilliant portrayal of how he turned from being quite a nice boy who was rather shocked by his family's business into the most ruthless and lethal gang boss in history, you know what I mean? And that
I mean, he's also very well known for a lot of other films, like Scarface, for example.
Yeah, Scarface, definitely.
Which is a very good one.
Yeah.
He's been in, Scent of a Woman, for example, was a great film.
Scent of a Woman, Blind Man Driving a Ferrari.
So, I mean, loads and loads of really great films he's been in.
I totally agree.
So when you say most actors are only known for one film, that is complete rubbish.
No, it's not. It's not. Robert De Niro is known for The Deer Hunter.
I wouldn't say that. Because you said, first of all, when you said Al Capone, I said Robert De Niro, because Robert De Niro played Al Capone in The Untouchables.
Did he?
But you haven't seen it, have you?
Yeah, I have seen it, but I didn't like it. Was that the one that Sean Connery was in?
Huh?
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery was the police officer.
That's right. Yeah. No, I wasn't overkidding that one. No, what I'm going to say, remember in Godfather
what about Paul
2?
Newman, then?
Paul Newman, without shadow of a doubt, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Has to be.
Why?
Well, because that's his most famous film with Robert Redford.
As far as you're concerned.
And then
what about Cool Hand Luke?
Cool Hand
all
Luke.
the eggs.
Cool Hand Luke. Yeah, he's the guy.
What about Cat on a Hot Tin Roof?
Cat on a Hot Tin Roof,
which is
brilliant. Seen.
You haven't seen that?
No, is that the adaptation of the Tennessee Williams
That's
play?
Right, with him and Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah,
tremendous.
Right. Yeah.
You really got to see some more movies.
No. Now, in The Godfather 2.
Godfather 2.
Do you know what I thought the most dramatic moment was? And I mean, it wasn't a gunfight. It wasn't blowing somebody away. It was when Al Pacino was standing there in his immaculate, overcoat and his silk scarf, and Diane Keaton said, "Please give me more access to my children."
And he just closed the door.
Just pushed the door closed on her.
Great scene.
Very dramatic moment.
Great scene. And also earlier on in the hotel, before they split up, where she said that she wanted to take the kids away.
Yeah, that's right,
And he just starts shouting at her and he slaps her.
Yeah.
Because he kind of loses
You will never
control.
take my children away from me.
Did you really think you could do that?
Yeah. And then didn't somebody try and kill him in his own house? And he'd said, in my own house, in my own house.
Where my wife sleeps.
Where my
children play.
Sleep,
all that.
Fantastic
stuff.
Yeah. It was.
Here's Russell Crowe's appreciation. He says, I saw Blazing Saddles 7 times at the cinema with my school friends. George Street, Cows, outside Gene Wilder, you were a genius. Rest in peace.
Well, that's very sad, isn't it, when somebody like that dies? But, I mean, to leave a legacy like that is an outstanding contribution to the world because most of us, of course, come and go and nobody ever notices.
No.
So for people like him, that is quite an achievement.
I don't think there's any doubt that he was a very, very clever actor. Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder, one of the truly great talents of our time. He blessed every film we did with his magic and he blessed me with his friendship.
Yeah,
I think that's a lovely thing to have said about
Who said that?
After you died? Mel Brooks.
No, Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, it was a tremendous...
Mel Brooks is getting on a bit now, isn't he?
Well, I suppose so. You do have a way of completely and utterly changing the mood. I mean, here we are trying to talk about the death of somebody who's created such wonderful films.
Yes.
And you say, oh, well, yeah, Mel Brooks is getting on a bit.
I tell you what is quite interesting. We have some younger people working here at Talk Radio.
Yeah.
And when I said he was reasonably famous and all that kind of stuff. And some of the younger people here actually got quite excited and said, no, he was very famous and they know him well.
Well, my kids...
So that again is another tribute.
Well, my kids are much younger than the people working here.
Yes.
And they will still watch the original Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder.
Well, it's very much a kid's favourite film, isn't it?
No, I know, but what I'm saying is they won't watch a lot of old movies.
No, I see,
because they'd see them as kind of, not particularly... sort of clever,
exactly,
or very dated, and, without any CGI and all that kind of thing. So the fact that they watch this, I think, is a tribute to the longevity of it. Really,
no, I suppose you're absolutely right.
For want of a better word. Yeah. Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be quite busy actually because we're going to do a look at the Metro paper, which of course is tomorrow's Metro paper.
That's right.
And then we'll be talking to Edward Lucas, senior editor at the Economist.
Yes,
all about.
You had a fantastic piece recently about. It's not so much the new Cold War. It's whether or not Trump is
Russian. Is working for the Russians. But right now, though, we've got to take a little break.
You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged. Good evening. We are the Two Mics. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. We're here with you in this particular slot from 7 till 10 every night this week. There will be podcasts available, of course, the following day, no doubt. We'll try and keep on top of those to make sure nothing goes wrong. Coming up in this hour, we're going to talk to Edward Lucas, who's written a book called The New Cold War, senior editor of The Economist. He thinks that Trump may not be necessarily working for the Russians, but thinks that he may be in some way being either advised by them or being in some way connected to them.
Or being used as a useful idiot.
A useful idiot, yeah. Well, I suppose that might be quite adept at this particular moment in time. We'll also have the Metro paper review with Chris Cowley, assistant editor of Metro. Find out what he's got in the papers tomorrow. I've got a couple of other stories I want to raise with you as well.
That's good.
We are the Two Mics. Now, we were talking about this on the way down on the plane, and I was reminding you of the story of Anthony Weiner. Do you remember the guy in America who was the mayoral candidate against de Blasio?
Oh, yeah.
In New York.
That's right, yeah.
And he had to resign. He was probably going to win the fight. He was probably going to become the new mayor of New York.
Indeed.
But for his unfortunate predilection for sending pictures of his member to various women.
Yes.
Which was somehow discovered by, I think it was the New York Post.
Yes.
Who then plastered it all over the front page of the papers. Well, believe it or not, right?
Behaviour,
believe it or not.
Yes.
This bloke, who then had to sort of scarper off and crawl away, licking his wounds, has been back in the news because they've found another cache of pictures.
Really?
Right? Apparently.
And what are these pictures
He's
of?
been sharing explicit messages with another woman.
Oh, really?
Right, and now finally...
Who is not his wife, you mean?
Who is not his wife. And finally his wife, who is actually quite an important woman because she herself is one of the top aides to Hillary Clinton.
Yes,
in
she
Hillary
is,
Clinton's
She is,
campaign. She's a woman...
In fact, the top aide, I think.
She's a woman by the name of Huma Abedin.
That's right.
Beautiful-looking woman. She has said, after long and painful consideration and work on my marriage, I have made the decision to separate from my husband. Did I not say she'd do that?
Yeah,
Remember I said that?
You did.
Anthony and I remain devoted to doing what is best for our son, who is the light of our life. During this difficult time, I ask for respect for our privacy. Well, that's all very well asking for respect for your privacy. But, you know, when he's been sending pictures of his privates out all over the place, one of the photos appears to show a man with bulging underpants lying in bed with a toddler apparently asleep next to him. So it would seem that this is his son who's asleep and he's sending pictures to this woman here, 40-something divorcee.
Good God.
Well,
with a very shapely form.
Well, we don't have to go into that, but I thought you might say that. But apparently, he gave an interview after he was originally sort of caught out, right? He resigned from the House of Representatives in 2011 after basically what he did was he tweeted the image.
Yes.
Because you know what he was probably trying to do was send a private message.
Yes, that's right.
But in fact, he tweeted it.
Yeah.
And it was a very explicit image.
But this happens all the time when people are, you know, when they drop their guard and they're trying to be intimate with somebody. No, it wasn't his guard he dropped, I agree.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have these people who embarrass themselves in business by sending out some sort of message about a colleague or a boss or something like that. If they don't get it right, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Exactly.
That's why I would never put anything into...
And that was the picture. And I mean,
Pop
obviously,
goes
you only see
Yeah.
the wiener. Of course, the reason the story was great for them is because wiener is American slang for, you know,
exactly.
his member.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, what a complete idiot. In 2012, he went and gave an interview with his wife to People magazine in which he said he'd undergone therapy and was content to be a stay-at-home father.
That's right, yeah, and he's better now, yeah. But you put anything in writing, you know, or try any picture like that on mass communication networks, even if you think... Well, don't worry, it's only going to one person.
Yeah.
Even if you think
well, it's still out there, though.
You're mad. Of
course,
course,
because the woman in question may decide to show it to somebody, or she may send it somewhere by mistake.
I was about to say, you do that when you think that you've got intimacy with somebody.
Yeah.
But intimacy can soon turn to, well, outimacy, if you see what I mean.
Outimacy, I like it.
Yeah, because,
it's a good word, that.
Because you
just invented a new word.
Yeah, you suddenly fall out with somebody, and all of a sudden, instead of being intimate with them, you want to out them.
Yeah.
And you know, in a fit of pique and retribution, prove that what a dreadful person they are. How best can I prove this to the world? I know. I'll show an image of the intimate message or the intimate image he sent me.
Yeah, and that'll do for you.
Yeah.
Now, another story I want to raise with you, which I spotted earlier on today, is this very weird lightning strike over in Norway, which has killed more than 300 reindeer. And it's been described as an unusually large natural disaster.
Well, that is unusually large, isn't it?
Have you seen the pictures? There's these reindeer carcasses scattered all over the hillside.
Where did that happen?
In Norway.
Yeah, whereabouts in Norway?
Well, what do you mean whereabouts in Norway?
Yeah.
What difference does it make whereabouts in
Norway? Was it anywhere
Norway?
near Oslo, for instance?
Well, it was in the rural part of Norway.
Well, that's probably not near Oslo.
It's a small area on the Hardangervidda mountain plateau.
Oh, okay.
Does that help you out?
No, not
so
really.
You know where that is?
But
you don't.
Are you telling me that a lightning bolt hit the ground and that the effective shock from that lightning bolt killed up to 300 animals?
Yeah.
Beasts. I mean, reindeers are beasts.
They're big.
They're big things, you know?
They eat them there, don't they?
Yeah, they do eat them. Yeah, reindeer steaks.
Apparently, the reindeer
tend
tend to stay very close to each other in bad weather.
Yeah.
Which could explain how so many were killed. It's
Well,
it's the second one.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but earlier on this year, around about the time the Euros was on, I think, there were a lot of lightning strikes across Central Europe.
Were there?
Where lots of people were injured. There was a couple. There was one at a rock concert, I think. Loads of people got hurt.
And houses were getting damaged. Roofs on
But
houses.
This is the second time this month that a large group of animals have been killed by lightning.
Well,
on the 25th of August, 38 sheep died. In India.
Yeah, really. Yeah. What's that got to do with anything? What's that got to do with the price of fish?
What do you mean?
Do you think anybody is going to be riveted by the news that 38 sheep died in
Well,
India?
I think, anything
so?
unusual, as far as I'm concerned, anything that's unusual
Yeah.
is interesting news.
It has to be relevant to me.
What do you mean? I mean, yeah, but I'm sorry, news is not what's relevant to you.
No.
News is what's relevant to everybody else.
What I should have said is to me.
I don't know how you were ever the news editor of a national newspaper because you don't care about anything unless it affects you.
No. I should have worded that as to me it has to be relevant, and I do not see the relevance of sheep dying in India, sad as it is.
You don't think that two large numbers of animals in one fell swoop being struck by lightning is interesting?
Well,
two separate things happening in two separate parts of the world.
Not really.
No?
Not really. The reindeer one will upset children because children believe that reindeer are Santa's creatures, right?
Some do,
and of course we're coming up to Christmas and all that kind of stuff.
We're not coming up to Christmas. It's still August.
Yeah, but we're heading towards Christmas. There'll be a few children weeping, when they hear this story. Might have seen it on television and asking their mum and dad whether Santa will bring any presents this year because all the reindeer have been killed. That's right. Yeah,
that's why it's a good story.
Yeah, well that is. That's fine, but I don't see the relevance of 38 dead sheep in India.
Well,
much as
because if two similar things happen, then you have something developing, possibly as a pattern.
I didn't even know that there was lightning in India.
What?
Well, I didn't think they had lightning in India.
They have the same kind of weather in India they have here.
No, they don't.
They have thunderstorms, they have lightning, they have rain, they have snow.
Yes.
I mean, India's a very big country.
It is a very big country,
Sometimes
I agree.
I'm quite disturbed by ignorance. Now, we've spoken a lot about this man who's about to speak to us now.
Yep.
Senior editor at The Economist, Mr. Edward Lucas. He's written very interesting stuff about the new Cold War and about the relationship possibly between Donald Trump and the Russians. Let's talk to him now and find out what he knows. Edward, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Are you there, Edward?
Seems like we've got a bit of a gap here.
Not hearing Edward.
Yeah.
We'll get him back.
Okay, we'll get him back in 1 second or two. But just to explain this to you, I read a detailed piece by Mr. Lucas, by Edward recently, in which he literally put together a fascinating dossier on how close Donald Trump has been to Russian interests and Russian people, and even to, try and invade himself with Mr. Putin, the Russian leader, over the past sort of decade,
Okay.
you know?
Well, I think we may have another go at getting... Edward, are you there?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I had the mute button pressed. I was shouting loudly.
Not to worry. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show. Good evening to you. Some fascinating kind of threads that you're drawing together here. But are you making more of something than that isn't really there?
I think the fact that since I wrote my big article about this, Paul Manafort, the then chairman of Donald Trump's campaign, actually had to resign. Shows that there's something going on there. And I think you've got three different elements in this. One is the questionable, to put it no more strongly than that, personal connections of some of the people around Mr. Trump to people in Russia. The second is Mr. Trump's own connections. And then the third is his public statements, which chime very much with the way that Putin looks at the world and would be very bad for America's allies in Europe, not least Britain.
Okay, so do we deduce from this? I mean, I read it, Edward, with fascination. You know, Mike and I, my broadcasting partner, we worked for many years in America, so we know all about Donald Trump and you know, these bombastic sort of style and all that kind of stuff. But do the Russians see him as that great expression that's been used since the time of Stalin and Lenin, that Trump can be used by the Russians as a useful idiot in the West?
Yes, he's certainly the sort of person that the Russians would find interesting because he's got quite a lot of vulnerabilities. He's not actually as good a businessman as he says he is. His property empire is laden up with debts. No reputable American bank wants to have any dealings with him because he's so bad at paying the money back that he's so good at borrowing. And so he would be very grateful for foreign infusions of cash into his empire. And Russia, of course, has got a lot of money for that sort of purpose. He's also quite psychologically vulnerable, and the Russians are very good at looking at psychological weaknesses and working out to exploit them. He loves praise, hates criticism, and makes a big deal of the fact that Putin has said he's a genius. Actually, there's no record of Putin actually having said that. He likes the idea that Putin might have, and he's also been obsessed with Russia for years. He was back there in the Soviet era, trying to do property deals. He took the Miss Universe contest to Russia and got a very friendly message from Mr. Putin about that. So there's something about Russia that really appeals to him, and I think the Russians would say, that's interesting. How can we make something out of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was going to ask, I was asking Mike this earlier, Edward, you may know the answer to it. I mean, in sort of every 4 years when the US presidential election sort of gets underway and the campaigns begin and everything else, I mean, the Russians must watch it all with some interest and perhaps or try to influence it in different ways. What do you know about how they operate in that area?
Well, I think that is actually the really interesting thing. It's not just that they've got business and other connections with people around the Trump campaign. I think the really important thing is that they were behind the hack into the Democratic National Committee's computers. That they've got a lot of stuff which is kind of embarrassing for Hillary Clinton. It's not exactly dynamite, but it's certainly unwelcome. And they've been drip-feeding that into the American political context. And to take a sort of comparable example here, it would be as if they had hacked into the Conservative campaign headquarters, got lots of emails showing the Conservatives not behaving very well, and then were drip feeding those into the British campaign in the hope of getting Jeremy Corbyn elected. And that's a really new thing for the Americans. America's quite used to putting pressure on other countries' politics and trying to encourage one lot of candidates and discourage others. I think it's a real shock for them to see that they can have their politics manipulated by outsiders like this.
Absolutely. Now, at the moment, of course, you could say, well, it's all harmless because, of course, Mr. Trump is not yet the President of the United States of America, but he could be. And I mean, are we serious that Trump's head could be so turned by Russian philosophy or the Russian debate that he might then campaign to disband NATO and other sort of Western defences, not really knowing what he's doing?
I think there's a serious problem here. Obviously, America is a big, strong country, has big, strong institutions, and the president doesn't have dictatorial powers. He can't spend any money unless Congress votes it. The Supreme Court can rule things are illegal. Congress can refuse to pass his laws. It can overturn his vetoes and so on. So I think the Constitution is quite robust, and America will survive a Trump presidency. I'm much more worried about what happens to America's allies for exactly this point, that we in the West are used to taking, in fact, everyone around the world takes American presidents very seriously. If they say, we don't like this, or this is useless, or we're not going to do it, people think, well, they sit up and listen. And America's credibility has already taken quite a pounding under the Obama administration, because Mr. Obama doesn't really like the idea of America being the global policeman. He thinks they've got enough problems at home. But Mr. Trump is that cute, and he said he thinks NATO is obsolete. He said that he doesn't see why America should have to defend European countries which don't spend enough on defence. One of his top advisors, Newt Gingrich, actually specifically said he didn't think America should defend Estonia if Estonia was attacked by Russia. He said Estonia is just a suburb of St. Petersburg. And that's really shocking, because Estonians do spend money on defence and have been very loyal American allies. So this is all really worrying. It's the sort of talk that might make Mr. Putin think it's time to try some mischief. And that sort of mischief can very easily escalate, and it could succeed, which would be very bad, or it could end up in a very nasty and dangerous conflict, which would be bad as well.
Edward, can we ask you just to hold on for 1 second? We've just got to do a little housekeeping here, and we'll be right back to you in literally 60 seconds or so. We're talking to Edward Lucas. He is senior editor at The Economist, about the connections between Donald Trump and Russia, whether Vladimir Putin is getting something out of his candidacy and would like him to be president. More from Edward coming up next.
You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a report repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged. We are the two Mikes. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We're talking now to Edward Lucas, though, senior editor at The Economist. And Edward, thanks very much for staying with us.
There.
I mean, obviously, as you've said before, Donald Trump is, if he's savvy at anything, it's that kind of promoting himself, sometimes with the use of, shall we say, things which are not always truthful. I mean, it would be in his interests, I suppose, would it not, to make people think that someone thought he was important, even if it was the Russians?
Yes, I think he likes the idea of being seen as an international mover and shaker.
Yeah.
I don't think he likes the construction business, not because he's particularly interested in sort of stressed concrete and the ins and outs of it. He likes the all the swagger that he gives him, the enormous 100-story Trump Tower in Manhattan.
Right.
He wanted to build the same one in Russia. So I'm always cautious about using psychiatric jargon, not being medically qualified myself. But, it's easy to see why people call him an egomaniac and a narcissist and all that sort of thing. And that is the sort of thing that the Russians would find interesting, because even before he was a presidential candidate, he was moving in circles that would be interesting for them, that they would be very keen to have people around him know who he's talking to, what he's found out, and maybe give the ball a little kick every now and again in the direction that they wanted. So I think they'd be congratulating themselves on their good fortune that he's become a presidential candidate, and obviously hoping that he might one day get into the White House.
That's right. Now, I wonder if you could tell me, Edward, please, Trump aside, although obviously that's why we're talking about this subject, but how dangerous a man is Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think that, and in fact, I've got a piece coming out in the Times tomorrow on this, saying that Mitt Romney was right. You may remember Mitt Romney back in 2012 when he was the Republican presidential candidate.
Yes.
2012 was 2000. Yeah, I think that was. And he was lambasted for saying that Russia was our number one geopolitical foe. And in fact, that was true, because although Russia's not a strong country economically, it's a sort of global pipsqueak when it comes to GDP or innovation, culture, anything like that, it does have the ability to do things that really rattle us. It can accept economic pain. We don't want to do that. It's willing to take risks. We don't want to do that. It lies brazenly about what it does. And it sees that this rule-based European security order, which we've had since 1991 or even before, is quite vulnerable. And it would like to be in a world where might is right, where Russia as a big European country would be able to deal with the other big countries and do deals, and wouldn't be constrained by all these sort of rules that it thinks are so unfair and tiresome. And that's a really serious problem for us, because we take this rules-based order for granted. We've forgotten what a struggle it was during the Cold War not to lose, and then after the Cold War to set things up in a way that has basically kept us safe and free and pretty prosperous for the last few decades.
Indeed.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. We'll see how it all ends up. Edward, thank you so much for
thank you very much indeed for
taking the
joining
time to talk to us. Edward Lucas there, senior editor.
Always a pleasure. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. At The Economist telling us about what he feels is the importance of Russia in this presidential election.
Pretty frightening if that sort of relationship... do you remember recently, I told you, not recently, a couple of years ago, the USS Theodore Roosevelt was parked in the Solent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the biggest aircraft carrier the Americans have got.
Right.
90 aircraft parked on the deck alone. I mean, quite amazing.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is about half of the total number of aircraft in the RAF. Parked on one ship in the Solent from the US. Now, without that sort of cover, without that sort of defence, we're going to have a terrible problem. Pulling together ourselves and the Western Alliance if all of a sudden somebody else has got influence on NATO.
Yeah, right, absolutely right. Because, I mean, the story about this Trump sort of campaign chairman who resigned over the last week, sort of a few days ago. I mean, amazing story in the New York Times, which said that secret ledgers had linked him to undisclosed cash payments of $12.7 million from the Yanukovych administration, which, of course, is the Ukrainian administration that's the pro-Putin one.
Yeah, I know.
He's denied it, saying it's unfounded, silly and nonsensical. But basically, he's resigned. So there must be some truth to it.
So maybe there was. Right, very good. Now, I want to talk to you about eating. Eating?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Now, you had some interesting food, as we said, up
Yes.
up in Scotland over the weekend, but you are a very picky eater, I have to say. I mean, you and I have been out for dinner and lunch many times.
Yes.
I didn't really realise quite such a picky eater you were.
Well, I'm not a picky eater. I don't like garlic, and somebody served me a dish which was supposed to... I thought it was halibut fish, which I like, but I don't like it literally swimming around in garlic. It was swimming around in a garlic sauce, and I can't eat
when
that.
we were in Mallorca, right?
Yeah.
You asked me to taste your fish soup to see whether it had garlic in it.
Yes, I did.
But so how did you not know it was had? Surely, if you were sort of against garlic, you would smell it.
I thought I'd smelt garlic in it, and I didn't want to taste it because it does have a terrible effect on me. So I asked you to taste it for me. You said there's no garlic.
And what about the lunch we had yesterday?
Lunch yesterday?
Yeah.
What
you don't remember what you said to the waiter?
I said, can I have ordinary peas and not minted peas?
There were minted peas that came with the fish and chips.
Yeah, which
and
is
you
a
said,
bit
I don't want minted peas, I just want ordinary peas.
Yeah, that's right,
You said, no,
we
can't do that.
Yeah.
And then you said, what did you say then?
Well, they were serving the fish with chunky chips.
Yeah.
I hate chunky chips
Right.
because I never feel they're cooked through properly. So I said, have you got any skinny chips, please? He said, no.
Right.
So I said, right, well, I don't want any of your chips then.
Right.
Bring me some mashed potato.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it means that you're one of those people that can't go out to a restaurant and just order off the menu.
Yeah.
Everything has to be changed for you.
Well,
which is the sign of some kind of megalomaniac.
No, it's not. It's a sign of the
it's
fact
like
that
it's like the movie Get Shorty.
Yeah.
You know, where Danny DeVito runs around and he says, and he walks in and he says you can't order anything that's on the menu because that's what bums do.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is to show how important you are. Is you have to order something that's not on the menu.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't do that. I mean,
well, you basically don't accept anything on the menu.
Well, I don't like eating a lot of things that are served in restaurants these days because they have exotic menus, and I prefer plain and simple ones. But anyway, the reason I brought this up is I've got some great news for you.
Go on.
There's a new medical theory which I've come across which says that the best way to keep heart disease at bay is to eat 6 times a day.
6?
That would really suit you, that.
Well, I mean, there may be days when I do eat 6 times
That's
a day.
what I'm saying.
Because, I mean, what I don't really find myself doing anymore is having the, as they call it in the military service, 3 squares a day.
3 squares a day,
You know, breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was in Bosnia and I was staying near the army camp, I used to eat in the army base.
Right.
I mean, their food was amazing. You would have loved it.
Yeah, I'm
you
sure.
would have loved it.
Sure.
It's all the kind of stuff you like.
Sort of basic food,
But you find yourself eating very, very well.
But I have to reveal, not a secret, but a detail of our mad rush to the studio tonight. You know, the plane was late. That was down to EasyJet, not us.
Yeah.
We got off the plane. We had to rush through the airport. We had to then make absolutely sure we got a train with minutes to spare.
Well, I knew exactly how much time we had because I had actually looked up on the internet when the next train was.
So why then, when I was trying to organise the tickets and
get
things
to organise
moving,
the tickets.
why then did I find you heading for and in fact negotiating the purchase of a Cornish pasty at the West Cornish pasty bar?
When you say negotiating the
you
purchase
can't leave food alone.
Well,
you can't leave food alone.
No, what I knew was that if I came in here to do a 3-hour radio show, having not had dinner, and without having had anything to eat at all for several hours, I would get cranky. I would get.
Well, did you see me rushing for food when we landed?
No, but you're not exactly. But you're not exactly the kind of person whose eating habits I would wish to copy because you
I don't eat
in
as
a
much
very
as
odd
you.
way.
No, I don't eat as much as
I don't
you.
know whether you do or not, but you're certainly heavier than I am.
No, it's rubbish.
I've already offered to be involved in a weigh-in.
You never stop eating.
I never stop eating.
You regard going hungry as some disease, something that's going to affect my memory or something like that.
I just don't want. No, I just don't want to be sitting in the middle of a studio feeling very hungry.
I mean,
because I'm working and I would like to be at my peak. You don't mind coming in here with your head all over the place.
No.
Because you haven't had enough sleep.
No.
Or because you've had too much Red Bull.
No,
or because you've had no food.
No, you're mad. I don't need food to satisfy every urge within my body. I need food. I mean, there was one time we were doing a live show. It wasn't this weekend we were away. When all of a sudden, somebody arrives with a full-blown Chinese takeaway for you half an hour before we're going on stage.
Yeah, that was in Birmingham.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that to me is, I'm aghast.
Well,
you can't
must be very easily shocked.
No, you can't possibly eat and be thinking about work at the same time.
Why not?
And then,
well, you might not be able to.
No.
What have you got? You're only able to do one thing at a time.
Well, the thing is, only 1/3 of my heart works, and therefore
So
the digestive process that the heart has to deal with is a big strain on the heart.
Liam says this: old MG is clearly jealous of Mike Parry and his sophisticated taste in food.
Well, there you go. No, I mean the point is,
will you eat anything else tonight before you go to bed?
I very much doubt it.
Right. So, what have you had to eat today?
This morning for breakfast, I had 2 croissants.
2 croissants. Yeah, with anything on them?
Butter croissants. No.
Butter?
No, dry.
Nothing on them. Dry croissants.
Dry croissants.
What are you, prison or something? No, I love dry croissants.
You like dry croissants?
Yeah,
you don't think about putting butter on them?
Well, no, because I like them dry. That's how I like them.
All right.
So,
and then what did you have after that?
Well, then, where did we go? Did we have any lunch today? I can't remember.
You can't remember. You see? You haven't had enough food. You can't remember whether you had lunch.
Hang on.
That means your brain has been starved of food and oxygen.
No, we didn't. We went and met our colleague Donald. We then went to the airport. Oh, at the airport.
Yeah.
Yes. I had a...
You said you wanted a sandwich, didn't you?
Right. Now, you were messing around with all sorts of sandwich bars. You couldn't settle. You couldn't buy anything. You went off and got something from a place called Eat.
I wanted to go and buy some things for my children. Right?
Yes, but then you went to a place called Eat and got something there. Now, what I did is, I'm practical. I went into WH
Smith's, which is a newsagent's.
Yes.
And got a sandwich.
I did.
Very well done.
I bought a...
Did it taste like newspaper?
No, it tasted
I would no more buy a sandwich from WH Smith's than I would buy a newspaper from a butcher's shop.
No, don't be ridiculous. They have a very high reputation for their sandwiches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
WH Smith?
Yeah, and I got a...
What kind did you get?
Ham and chicken.
Ham and chicken?
On malted bread.
Malted bread?
Yeah, it was very nice.
It's the kind of thing that makes you ill.
What?
It's the kind of thing that makes you ill.
Anyway,
look, we're getting late now because we've got lots more to do.
So I enjoyed that sandwich, and I'll tell you how the day finished with my culinary tastes and desires in a minute.
OK, we'll do more of that coming up next. We're also going to be doing the Metro Paper Review with Chris Cowley.
You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged. Let's look ahead to tomorrow's top stories. Joining us now, Assistant Editor of Metro, Mr. Chris Cowley. Chris, a very good evening to you.
Hi guys, hi.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's been we've been away in Edinburgh all weekend, so we're quite happy to let you catch us up with all the news, because sometimes when you go to bed at 5 o'clock every morning, you're not exactly on your mettle with these things. But you've got an amazing story about the Home Office, haven't you?
Well, yes, our front page story tomorrow is about, the headline is Non Merci, I'm in my best French accent there, but the Home Office slapping down the call by Calais chief to let migrants claim UK asylum in France.
Right.
So this is a guy called Xavier Bertrand. He's the president of the Calais region, and he wants to, he just basically wants to get people across the channel, or the asylum seekers, or not asylum, migrants across the channel, and dump them in Britain. Well, that goes against the agreement that was signed with Nicolas Sarkozy.
But Sarkozy's making a bit of trouble as well here, isn't he? Isn't he say a couple of days ago that he wants to shift the borders back into this country and actually move what is known, the settlements of the jungle, back into England?
That's right. Yeah, he's. It's a bit of a slap for the sort of. They're reacting to the Brexit vote, I think.
Yes.
But clearly there is a problem there, because there's 9,000 people in this camp. But the argument is that if they decide to sort of say, well, you can go over to Britain, that'll just attract even more people to Calais.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, it's always been a bit of a running sore, this whole camp situation, hasn't it? And now that Brexit is looming, whether anyone believes it will ever actually happen, they'll have to do something about it finally, won't they?
Well, I think they will. But, essentially the agreement is that... I thought the agreement was that when migrants arrive in whatever country, they should be dealt with as asylum seekers or migrants in that specific country.
Well, that's absolutely right.
But they're managing to get it right across France, right across Europe into France.
But I mean, for years we've believed that the French, as soon as the migrants get to the French coast, it's just a sort of wave of the hand, isn't it? And they're sort of, turn a blind eye and encouraged to keep going. That's always been a problem, hasn't it?
Well, it has, yes, but I don't know. I mean, they obviously need to sort this out sooner or later, because they can't just keep growing and growing the camp.
Well, you say that, but I mean, nobody ever seems to want to sort it out, just moves on.
Yeah, exactly
now,
right.
What about the next story here? Victims lured into Pokemon Go trap. Now, I mean, I've heard so much about this Pokemon. In fact, when we were in Edinburgh this weekend, didn't your daughter start chasing Pokemon?
She got very excited when she got down to Leith shore, because she went, there's loads of Pokemon around here.
Yeah.
She's 25. I was like, for heaven's sake, dear, get over it. But anyway, tell us about this one.
Well, the BBC, under the Freedom of Information Act, have managed to find that around the country there have been 290 incidents of people being robbed, fights breaking out, and particularly drivers driving along and stopping in the middle of the road to catch a Pokemon. I mean, I don't know if everybody knows what this is, but it's some sort of augmented reality game which you play on your smartphone, and it's just, I think it's only going to be a matter of time before somebody gets killed, you know, either on the roads or somebody's going to get lured and attacked and then killed in a side street or whatever.
It happened in Japan, I think, a few days ago, where a guy was driving a car and he was actually trying to capture them while he was driving. Right. And he ran up on a pavement and ran over a couple of elderly Japanese women, one of whom I think died.
Sorry, I'm not laughing. That's terrible. But I mean, it just shows how obsessive people get about this thing, doesn't it? And you think now, Chris, that this is going to be used by criminals who are going to exploit people's obsessiveness with Pokemon, and then somebody drops their guard, if you see what I mean.
Well, I mean, there are people being robbed of their phones, you know, in this country, and you know, they just, I thought this from day one. People kind of get lost in their sort of virtual reality world, and they're totally unaware of their surroundings. They can walk up alleyways or wherever, I don't know, and
step in front of a car.
Well, indeed, and it's just a matter of time in this country, I reckon, before somebody dies one way or another. You know.
Do you have people in your office who are obsessed with it?
I haven't seen anybody yet.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You don't see it because it doesn't exist. It only exists on a little screen in front of people who are walking around, as you quite rightly say, in a coma.
Yeah. Funny story, though. I'm not sure if there was a full moon, I think, last week, not this week, but the werewolf story is always good for bank holidays, aren't they?
Well, it's that time of year, isn't it? It's sort of silly season. But, yes, our headline is, Stink, I saw a werewolf, I'm all right. No. God, that
very good werewolf, very good. Oh, it's going to be a bit more dramatic. So tell us the story.
But this is about sightings in a place just north of Hull, near a village called Beverley, and in East Yorkshire. And it's people are claiming that they're seeing a werewolf or some sort of creature that is 8 foot tall, half man, half dog. And this story is about an animal rescue worker coming face to face with it, and she had people in the car with her, and they all sort of saw this creature. I suspect it's maybe somebody in some sort of suit, but it looked like a big dog, she said, probably bigger than my car, but it had a human face, and it sort of then it's basically this creature, inverted commas, is known as the Beast of Barnstorm Drain.
Oh, right.
And apparently it's been there's been and it's called Old Stinker, by the way.
I have heard of a thing called Old Stinker. It's one of these legendary kind of creatures that people from time to time dig up, if you'll pardon the expression.
Well, it dates back to the 18th century when wolves stalked the countryside. But there have been reports that this creature has been around since, and people have been spotting him since the 1960s.
Yeah. But you see, the reason I think this is a load of baloney these days, Chris, is because now that we've got mobile phones in our pockets with cameras and everybody's got one, you can't, I mean, celebrities can't get away with anything these days because somebody always takes a picture of them. And so I think werewolves who are parading around the country at one stage or another...
They might not have mobile phones, the werewolves.
A werewolf doesn't have a mobile phone, you idiot, but the people who see it have a mobile phone, and therefore, with you being in the printed newspaper business, Chris, you want to put out the challenge and say, well, if it does exist, somebody should have taken a picture of it by now.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's like all these beasts that are roaming around. They're always grainy pictures in the distance, and you think by now we would have seen all these beasts, the beasts of Bodmin or wherever, you know, and they're all a bit mythical. But kind of like this story, it's kind of a bit of light-hearted fun, and clearly people are worried about it.
We saw some animal rights demonstrators in Edinburgh just before we left, and some of them were dressed up in sort of cow suits and pig suits. Maybe it was one of them.
Yeah, it could be, you know, save the cow and all this kind of stuff.
Great stuff. All right, well, listen, thank you very, very much indeed, Chris.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No doubt to speak to you during the week.
Yeah, no doubt. That was the pay-per-view with Metro. Get your fix of news, sport and showbiz every weekday morning. pick up your free copy of Metro tomorrow. Now, I've got quite a few tweets coming in on the subject of food, which you were talking about before.
Exactly.
Paul says this, Porky, no army can fight on an empty stomach. That was a quote from Field Marshal Montgomery.
Yes,
right?
I know it was, yeah.
And Villa Rich says, pleased you made it back across the border, even if you were a little late. And William says, Porky, you think going hungry affects my memory? I wouldn't mention memory, Porky. Hashtag what's his name? Because, you're always forgetting people's names.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, trying to be ironic there, of course.
Yeah, anyway, you were going to tell me something else about your either your eating habits or mine.
I can't remember what it was. So then, what was I going to talk about?
Well, your memory's not affected by not eating, is it?
No, I had the chicken and bacon sandwich.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was chicken and ham.
It was chicken and ham, yeah, that's right.
It was chicken and bacon.
Well, bacon and ham are very similar.
Which one was it?
It was chicken and ham.
Okay.
Chicken and ham. Now, at the same time...
With mayonnaise?
No, might have had a bit of mayonnaise on it. Yeah, I don't like mayonnaise very much.
You don't like mayonnaise?
No. But
you didn't send it back, though.
No, of course I didn't send it back. I bought it for £1.27 in Double H Smith's or whatever it cost, £2.39, something like that, I don't know. But at the same time, you go wandering off and you come back with what I can only describe as a doorstep sandwich. I mean, it was huge.
It wasn't huge at all.
You went to a place called Eat and you came back...
A normal-sized sandwich.
No, it wasn't. There were huge blocks of bread with stuff in them. What was in your sandwich?
My sandwich had pastrami, a little bit of cheese, some pickle, and a bit of lettuce.
Ugh, too complicated.
Why?
Well,
you see, your problem
when
is...
your palate's got to contend with 4 different sort of flavours like that.
Really?
That is confused eating.
Well, it's not confused eating at all. It is what I fancied having.
Yeah, well, you know.
And what is wrong with that?
So anyway, then I managed to...
So what is wrong with that?
Well, nothing wrong with it, but I then managed to get back to London.
That was my lunch.
That was your lunch, right. Yeah. So I then managed... Oh, and a packet of crisps as well.
A packet of crisps,
yeah. Packet of crisps,
yeah. How outrageous. Can you imagine having a packet of crisps with a sandwich?
So then...
Do you ever have crisps?
Sometimes.
Do you not like crisps?
I do, but I find them a bit bland.
Bland?
Bit bland.
You wouldn't have found these bland. These were very nice.
The only crisps I like, and nobody seems to stock them anymore, or where they do, it's very rare, are smoky bacon.
You can get those.
I love smoky bacon crisps.
You can get those. What about roast chicken?
No, smoky bacon. So anyway, we then get back to London, and as I say, a desperate effort to make it to the studios.
There was no desperate effort to make
late.
it to the studios because I knew precisely which train we needed to get, which I gave you the information on.
And then
we knew precisely how much time we had. We had to wait for a bag
to stuff into your face. I mean, I find this very disconcerting.
Well, you may find it disconcerting, but that's because you're a very simple person.
No, I'm not. No,
the fact is, by this stage, right, it was now approaching 6:30.
And were you suffering burning hunger?
No, but I knew that I was going to be hungry, say, in about an hour and a half or so.
Well, why haven't I got hungry then?
Well, I don't know. I'm not your constitution. I don't have
exactly.
any idea how you operate.
You see, that is not you fearing hunger. That is greed. No, you just wanted to stuff another pasty down your throat.
Okay, so I didn't have any breakfast, okay?
Oh, didn't you? Well, I didn't ask you that.
I had a sandwich for lunch with a packet of crisps.
Yes,
okay? And because it was approaching, it is now 9:45 in the evening, right? By which time I've normally had dinner. Because I knew that I wasn't going to have dinner because I was on the radio.
Yes.
I had a Cornish pasty. It's not a huge amount of food to eat in a day. A sandwich, a Cornish pasty, and a packet of crisps.
I don't have any pangs of hunger.
Well, I'm very lucky for you.
I think that's because,
Maybe it was all the beer you had at the airport that filled you up.
I didn't have any beer at the airport.
Oh, you had a pint of cider, didn't you?
Yes, I did, yes. 1 pint of cider.
One pint of cider and a couple of glasses of champagne, which you don't drink.
Bucks Fizz.
You say you don't drink champagne.
Well,
see, once again, you're being disingenuous.
No.
Just to try and make some kind of point which is nebulous.
Bucks Fizz is not champagne. It is a champagne.
It's got champagne in it.
Cocktail.
It's got champagne in it.
It's got champagne in it.
You say you don't drink champagne, so that's another lie.
I can't drink raw champagne, if you see what I mean, or champagne on its own, because the bubbles will activate in my blood system, and as only 1/3 of my heart works, it will cause me a problem.
All rubbish.
Right?
Absolute cobblers.
Right.
Anyway, the show's nearly over.
Yes.
We're going to talk to Ian Lee coming up very shortly, because he's coming in to take over at 10 o'clock.
Great.
We are the Two Mics. We're here all week.
You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show, as you won't get through, but you still may be charged. The story that emerged earlier on today, though, about these 6 scientists emerging from a year-long sort of isolation on the Mauna Loa mountain in Hawaii.
Yeah, but it didn't seem very isolated. They were just an attempt.
Well, it was meant to simulate life on Mars.
That's right, yeah.
But, I mean, I would have thought the one thing you can't simulate about life on Mars is that as soon as you step out into the environment, you basically get burned to death by the incredible heat and the very dry atmosphere.
I must admit, I couldn't understand it, because the bit I read about it said, to simulate not so much life on Mars, but the effect on human beings of spending so much intimate time with each other, i.e., you don't get a single moment of privacy.
But that's not specific to living on Mars, is it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's
right. I mean, you might as well be in a Big Brother house.
I mean, I think
what's the difference?
You learn more about living on Mars by watching that film with Matt Damon in it, who got left behind on Mars when the space mission. Yeah, because do you remember we spoke to an expert, an astrologer or somebody, and he said
an astronomer.
An astronomer.
Not an astrologer.
Yeah, and he said that was very true to what scientific facts we have about Mars. Yeah. That's what would happen. So if they know that already, what were these guys in Hawaii doing, sitting in a tent on the edge of a mountain trying to simulate Mars? Mars doesn't look anything like Hawaii.
Well, but they did apparently also do other things. You know, mining for water, they tried to do. They also, the scientists were supposed to be given uncomfortable social situations to see how they would avoid personal conflicts. But again, that's a bit like
what that meant.
That's
that
a bit
meant
like
having
Big
no
Brother.
Privacy again, you know, for ablutionary purposes and all that. They had to sort of all be very open with each other and all this kind of stuff. Not the sort of thing I'd got involved in.
No.
Although
you have been asked by many people whether you would get involved in a sort of reality television show.
Yes.
I mean, James Whale was in here not long ago talking to us about his experience in Big Brother.
Yes.
And the money he said was so good that you couldn't really turn it down.
Yeah.
Now that's certainly something that would hook you in, isn't it?
Well, I don't know.
You do things for money. You're motivated by money.
I don't know if I could put all that stuff in my mouth that they do in Australia. You know what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't fancy doing that either. Well, in the I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean,
Well, you have to be a celebrity as well.
Yeah, well, that's true. So
although actually not much of a celebrity,
no,
to be honest. But the thing that I find strange about this, right, is they're claiming success in recovering water from the mountain's arid climate by saying, we proved that you can actually get water from a ground that is seemingly dry.
Yeah.
Well,
excuse me, I've watched enough cowboy films to know that when you're stranded in the Arizona desert, you get a spade out and you keep digging, and eventually you get water.
Well, where would you have a spade, though?
Well, you'd have a spade on your horse, wouldn't you? Yeah, you get lost in the desert, you start digging. And also, I learned from those cowboy films, you can also, suck water out of a cactus, right?
You can.
So I think all that's been done already. In fact, John Wayne knows more about... John Wayne knows more about recovering water from a desert-like situation than any of those scientists.
But he is, of course, a fictional, actor, isn't he?
No, John Wayne was real.
Well, John Wayne's a real guy, but when he's doing those things...
Well, he wasn't a real guy. He's dead now.
Well,
he's been dead quite a long time.
Yeah, but when he was doing those
died
things...
in 1981.
When he was
I remember doing the front-page story on the Birmingham Mail,
okay. Did you claim the last interview with him as well?
Well, no, not really. No, I've actually met him.
You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT.
This is a repeated programme, so please don't call the show as you won't get through, but you still may be charged.